the history about it, and I mean the history that it is about, and I think it's a very interesting thing, since Henry VII just gets a rather very nice treatment in Richard III is Richmond, so this is, but he was a very significant king in English history. And so anyways, welcome. I'm sorry we haven't had as many things this month. The brand that we were going to do tomorrow has been canceled, but next Saturday is Memorial Day, and normally for Memorial Day we wouldn't do anything because the libraries would be closed, but last year we did sort of a special Memorial Day event where we remembered some people who were significant to us, or also, I mean, memorialized some of our former Instant Shakespeare colleagues who have passed on. And so I invite anybody to come, or to sort of, also if you have some bit of Shakespeare that you'd like to share that helps to sort of memorialize someone or is meaningful to you, to feel free to join us and share it. That'll be next week, and then then we'll have more information on the June schedule. But many of you know about the June 5th. We'll be doing Charlie's Aunt, so looking forward to that as well.
From Brazil, where the nuts come from.
Yes.
Yes. Sometimes it looks like there's some issue in terms of getting live on YouTube, because it doesn't look like we're there yet.
It's taking time, but it's working on it.
Okay, yeah, because it is confusing, because it comes up with the two sort of Instant Shakespeare emails, and you got to pick the YouTube one.
It's all, but it's I'm seeing the little circle, page unresponsive. Wait.
Okay, Alex has some. Alex.
Yes, Kate is having difficulty joining with, she says it's asking her to register for the webinar for some reason. Could someone send me a link to forward her for like an attendee link or whatever? Or tell me where I can find it?
Let me see what I can do.
Thank you.
Or I can just send it to her right now. She doesn't appear until the second scene, so.
Okay. Let me just text her.
I'm sending it too. That's exactly how I came in, so I know it works.
Paul, why don't you demote me to attendee, since I may not stay, and it'll free up a space on your screen. This is Steve.
Okay, Steve. Domain.
There it goes.
Love labor's lost.
But it's working on it.
Okay, yeah, because it is.
You are now live. Attendee.
All right, welcome to the Instant Shakespeare Company reading of Perkin Warbeck, and our playmaster is Stephen Brown. So go ahead and take it away, and have fun with the reading, everyone. Thank you all for joining us.
I just have a few points. Good afternoon, everybody. The first point that I want to say is, if anybody is looking for a historically accurate rendition, then like so much of Shakespeare, this is very historically inaccurate. Perhaps during the break, we will have a discussion about where it deviates from history and all of the other various options that are available. The big question is, was Perkin Warbeck actually Richard of Shrewsbury, Duke of York, the younger of the two princes in the Tower? Perhaps we will even have a vote, as I see some people are nodding or they're not. I will tell you where I stand on this. I absolutely believe he was. Oh, and there are various documents to prove it, but that's whereas we know that Lambert's symbol is not there. There are just 3 different issues during the play that I want to work on. Okay, Alex, you're okay with the prologue? You have that in front of you, which is not in the prologue was not printed in the link that I sent you. Bill, you know where the prologue ends so that you can begin the play proper? Okay, thank you very much. Number 2, in Act, Alex is going to provide a narration, but that is literally only for one speech in the middle of Act 3, Scene 2. It is actually 112 lines into Act 3, Scene 2, after Huntley's line, "Dainty sport toward the Lisle, sit, come, sit, and be quiet. Here are Kingly Bug's words." And then there is a whole masque. So rather than provide the dancing girls, we are providing Alex in his best Shakespearean or pseudo-Shakespearean mode. That's the middle of Act 3, Scene 2. And Alex, you're aware of that?
Now I am.
Yes, where it comes. And okay. And Lord Huntley, you are aware of that too?
Yes. Oh, yes.
Yes. Okay, good. So, and then we will be taking an interval, as it's a British play. We will be taking an interval, and that will come after Act 3, Scene 4, before we go into Act 4, and we'll see what time it is. And fortunately, this is not one of the longer plays, so we might be able to take 15 minutes to have a heated historical discussion. If not, then I think we are ready. Does anybody have any questions? No questions. In that case, ladies and gentlemen, and Kate has now joined us. Hello, Kate. Okay.
Hi.
In that case,
sorry for the delay.
Don't worry, you're here. That's what counts. And so, ladies and gentlemen, let's John Ford, A Chronicle History of Perkin Warbeck. The prologue.
Studies have of this nature been of late so out of fashion, so unfollowed, that it has become more justice to revive the antic follies of the times than strive to countenance wise industry. No want of art doth render wit or lame or scant or slothful in the purchase of fresh bays, but want of truth in them, who give the praise to their self-love, presuming to outdo the writer, or for need the actors too. But such this author's silence best befits, who bids them be in love with their own wits. From him to clearer judgments, we can say he shows a history couched in a play, a history of noble mention, known, famous, and true, most noble, 'cause our own, not forged from Italy, from France, from Spain, but chronicled at home, as rich in strain of brave attempts as ever, fertile rage in action, could beget to grace the stage. We cannot limit scenes, for the whole land itself appears too narrow to withstand competitors for kingdoms, nor is here unnecessary mirth forced to endear a multitude. On these two rests the fate of worthy expectation, truth and state.
One moment. Still to be haunted, still to be pursued, still to be frightened with false apparitions of pageant majesty and new coined greatness, as if we were a mockery king in state, only ordained to lavish sweat and blood in scorn and laughter to the ghosts of York. It is all below our merits. Yet, my lords, my friends and counselors, yet we sit fast in our own royal birthright. The rent face and bleeding wounds of England's slaughtered people have been by us, as by the best physician, at last both thoroughly cured and set in safety. And yet, for all this glorious work of peace, ourselves is scarce secure.
The rage of malice conjures fresh spirits with the spells of York. For 90 years, 10 English kings and princes, 70 great dukes and earls, 1,000 lords and valiant knights, 250,000 of English subjects have in civil wars been sacrificed to an uncivil thirst of discord and ambition. This hot vengeance of the just powers above to utter ruin and desolation had reigned on, but that mercy did gently sheathe the sword of justice in lending to this blood-shrunk commonwealth a new soul, new birth in your sacred person.
Edward IV, after a doubtful fortune, yielded to nature, leaving to his sons Edward and Richard the inheritance of a most bloody purchase. These young princes, Richard the tyrant, their unnatural uncle, forced to a violent grave. So just as heaven, him hath your majesty by your own arm divinely strengthened, pulled from his boar's sty, and struck the black usurper to a carcass. Nor doth the house of York decay in honours, though Lancaster doth repossess his right. For Edward's daughter is King Henry's queen, a blessed union and a lasting blessing for this poor panting island, if some shreds, some useless remnant of the house of York grudge not at this content.
Margaret of Burgundy blows fresh coals of division.
Painted fires without heat to scorch or light to cherish.
York's headless trunk, her father, Edward's fate, her brother king, the smothering of her nephews by tyrant Gloucester, brother to her nature, nor Gloucester's own confusion, all decrees sacred in heaven, can move this woman monster, but that she still, from the unbottomed mine of devilish policies, doth vent the ore of troubles and sedition.
In her age, great sir, observe the wonder, she grows fruitful, who in her strength of youth was always barren. Nor are her births as other mothers are at 9 or 10 months' end. She has been with child 8 or 7 years at least, whose twins being born, a prodigy in nature, even the youngest is 15 years of age at his first entrance, as soon as known in the world. Tall striplings, strong and able to give battle unto kings, idols of Yorkshire malice.
And but idols, a steely hammer crushes them to pieces.
Lambert, the eldest lords, is in our service, preferred by an officious care of duty from the scullery to a falconer. Strange example, which shows the difference between noble natures and the base born. But for the upstart Duke, the new revived York, Edward's second son, murdered long since in the Tower, he lives again and vows to be your king.
The throne is filled, sir.
True, Stanley, and the lawful heir sits on it. A guard of angels and the holy prayers of loyal subjects are a sure defense against all force and counsel of intrusion. But now, my lords, put case. Some of our nobles, our great ones, should give countenance and courage to the trim Duke Perrin. You will all confess our bounties have thriftily been scattered amongst unthankful men.
Unthankful beasts, dogs, villains, traitors!
Dawbeney, let the guilty keep silence. I accuse none, though I know foreign attempts against a state and kingdom are seldom without some great friends at home.
Sir, if no other abler reasons else of duty or allegiance could divert a headstrong resolution, yet the danger so lately passed by men of blood and fortunes in Lambert Simnel's party must command more than a fear, a terror to conspiracy. The highborn Lincoln, son to De La Pole, the Earl of Kildare, the Lord Geraldine, Francis Lord Lovell, and the German Baron, bold Martin Swart, with Broughton and the rest, most spectacles of ruin, some of mercy, are precedents sufficient to forewarn the present times, or any that live in them, what folly, nay, what madness 'twere to lift a finger in all defense but yours, which can be but imposturous in a title.
Stanley, we know thou lovest us. Thy heart is figured on thy tongue, nor think we less of any's here. How closely we have hunted this cub since he unlodged from hole to hole. Your knowledge is our chronicle. First Ireland, the common stage of novelty, presented this gewgaw to oppose us. There the Geraldines and Butlers once again stood in support of this colossic statue. Charles of France thence called him into his protection, dissembled him the lawful heir of England. Yet this was all but French dissimulation, aiming at peace with us, which being granted on honorable terms on our part. Suddenly this smoke of straw was packed from France again to infect some grosser air. And now we learn, maugre the malice of the bastard Neville, Sir Taylor, and 100 English rebels, They're all retired to Flanders, to the dam that nursed this eager whelp, Margaret of Burgundy. But we will hunt him there too. We will hunt him to death, even in the beldam's closet, though the Archduke were his buckler.
She has styled him the fair white rose of England.
Jolly gentleman, more fit to be a swabber to the Flemish after a drunken surfeit.
Gracious sovereign, pray you peruse this paper.
The king's countenance gathers a sprightly blood.
Good news, believe it.
Urswick, thine ear, thou'st lodged him?
Strongly safe, sir.
Enough. Is barley come too?
No, my lord.
No matter. Phew. Is but a running weed, at pleasure to be plucked up by the roots, but more of this anon. I have bethought me, my lords, for reasons which you shall partake, it is our pleasure to remove our court from Westminster to the Tower. We will lodge this very night there. Give Lord Chamberlain a present order for it.
Tower, I shall, sir.
Come, my true, best, fast friends. These clouds will vanish, the sun will shine at full. The heavens are clearing.
You trifle time, sir.
Oh, my noble lord, you construe my griefs to so hard a sense that when the text is argument of pity, matter of earnest love, your gloss corrupts it with too much ill-placed mirth.
Much mirth? Lord Delisle, not so, I vow. Observe me, sprightly gallant. I know thou art a noble lad, a handsome, descended from an honourable ancestry, forward and active, dost resolve to wrestle and ruffle in the world by noble actions for a brave mention to posterity. I scorn not thy affection to my daughter, not I, by good St. Andrew. But this bugbear, this horse and tail of honour, Delisle, so hourly chats and tattles in mine ear the piece of royalty that is stitched up in my Kate's blood. That 'tis as dangerous for thee, young lord, to perch so near an eaglet, as foolish for my gravity to admit it. I have spoke all at once.
Sir, with this truth, you mix such wormwood that you leave me no hope for my 1,000 disordered palate, ere to relish a wholesome taste against. Alas, I know, sir, what an unequal distance lies between great Huntley's daughter's birth and Delisle's fortunes. She, the king's kinswoman, placed near the crown, a princess of the blood, and I a subject.
Right, but a noble subject, put in that too.
I could add more, and in the rightest line derive my pedigree from Adam Muir, a Scottish knight, whose daughter was the mother to him who first begot the race of Jameses, that sway the scepter to this very day, but kindreds are not ours when once the date of many years have swallowed up the memory of their originals. So pasture fields neighboring too near the ocean are swooped up and known no more. For stood I in my first a native greatness, if my princely mistress vouchsafed me not her servant, 'twere as good I were reduced to clownery, to nothing as to a throne of wonder.
Now, by St. Andrew, a spark of metal, he has a brave fire in him. I would he had my daughter, so I knew it not. But must not be so, must not. Well, young lord, this will not do yet. If the girl be headstrong and will not hearken to good counsel, steal her and run away with her, dance galliards do, and frisk about the world to learn the languages. It will be a thriving trade. You may set up by it.
With pardon, noble Gordon, this disdain suits not your daughter's virtue or my constancy.
Oh, you're angry. Would he would beat me, I deserve it. Delisle, thy hand. We're friends. Follow thy courtship, take thine own time and speak. If thou prevailst with passion more than I can with my counsel, she's thine. Nay, she is thine. 'Tis a fair match, free and allowed. I'll only use my tongue without a father's power. Use thou thine, self do, self have. No more words. Win and wear her.
You bless me. I'm now too poor in thanks to pay the debt I owe you.
Nay, thou'rt poor enough. Oh, I love his spirit infinitely. Ah, look, here she comes. To her now. To her, to her.
The king commands your presence, sir.
The gallant, this lord, this servant, Kate, of yours, desires to be your master.
I acknowledge him a worthy friend of mine.
The humblest creature.
Oh, so, the game's afoot. I'm in cold hunting. The hare and hounds are parties.
Princely lady, how most unworthy I am to employ my services in honor of your virtues. Hopeless my desires are to enjoy your fair opinion and much more your love, or only matter of despair, unless your goodness give large warrant to my boldness, my feeble-winged ambition.
This is scurvy.
My lord, I interrupt you not.
Indeed. Now on my life she'll court him. Nay, on, sir.
Oft have I tuned the lesson of my sorrows, to sweeten discord and enrich your pity, but all in vain. Here of my comforts sunk, and never risen again, to tell the story of the despairing lover, not now, even now, the Earl your father.
He means me, sure.
After some fit disputes of your condition, your highness and my lowness, and your license, which did not more embolden than encourage my faulting tongue.
How's that? Embolden, encourage, I encourage ye. You hear, sir? A subtle trick, a quaint one. Will you hear, man? What did I say to you? Come to the point.
It shall not need, my lord.
Then hear me, Kate. Keep you on that hand of her, I on this. Thou standst between a father and a suitor, both striving for an interest in thy heart. He courts thee for affection, I for duty. He as a servant pleads, but by the privilege of nature, though I might command, my care shall only counsel what it shall not force. Thou canst but make one choice. The ties of marriage are tenures, not at will, but during life. Consider whose thou art, and who. A princess of the royal blood of Scotland, in the full spring of youth and fresh in beauty. The king that sits upon the throne is young, and yet unmarried, forward in attempts on any least occasion to endanger his person. Wherefore, Kate, as I am confident thou darest not wrong thy birth and education by yielding to a common servile rage of female wantonness, so I am confident thou wilt proportion all thy thoughts to side thy equals, if not equal thy superiors. My lord of Delisle, young in years, is old in honours, but nor eminent in titles, nor in estate that may support or add to the expectation of thy fortunes. Settle thy will and reason by strength of judgment. For in a word, I give thee freedom. Take it. If equal fates have not ordained to pitch thy hopes above my height, let not thy passion lead thee to shrink mine honour in oblivion. No, thou art thine own, I have done.
Oh, you're all oracle, the living stock and root of truth and wisdom.
My worthiest lord and father, the indulgence of your sweet composition thus commands the lowest of obedience. You have granted a liberty so large that I want skill to choose without direction of example, from which I daily learn by how much more you take off from the roughness of a father. By so much more I am engaged to tender the duty of a daughter. For respects of birth, decrees of title, and advancement, I nor admire nor slight them. All my studies shall ever aim at this perfection only, to live and die so, that you may not blush in any course of mine to own me yours.
Kate, Kate, thou growest upon my heart like peace, creating every other hour a jubilee.
To you, my lord of Daliel, I address some few remaining words. The general fame that speaks your merit, even in vulgar tongues, proclaims it clear, but in the best precedent.
Good wench, good girl, i' faith.
For my part, trust me, I value mine own worth at a higher rate, because you are pleased to prize it. If the stream of your protested service, as you term it, run in a constancy more than a compliment, it shall be my delight that worthy love leads you to worthy actions, and these guide ye richly to wed an honorable name. So every virtuous praise in after ages shall be your heir, and I, in your brave mention, be chronicled the mother of that issue, that glorious issue.
Oh, that I were young again. She'd make me court proud danger and suck spirit from reputation.
To the present motion, here's all that I dare answer. When a ripeness of more experience and some use of time resolves to treat the freedom of my youth upon exchange of troths, I shall desire no surer credit of a match with virtue than such as lives in you. Meantime, my hopes are preserved secure in having you a friend.
You are a blessed lady, and instruct ambition not to soar farther flight than in the perfume and air of your soft voice. My noble lord of Huntley, you've lent a full extent of bounty to this parley, and for it shall command your humblest servant.
Enough. We are still friends, and will continue a hearty love. Oh, Kate, thou art mine own, no more, no more. Ah, my lord of Crawford.
From the king I come, my lord of Huntley, who in council requires your present aid.
Some weighty business?
A secretary from a Duke of York, the second son to the late English Edward, concealed I know not where these 14 years, craves audience from our master. And 'tis said the Duke himself is following to the court.
Duke upon Duke, 'tis well, 'tis well. Here is bustling for majesty. My lord, I will along with ye.
My service, noble lady.
Please you walk, sir?
Times have their changes. Thorough make men wise. The sun itself must set as well as rise. Then why not I? Fair madam, I wait on ye.
You find, Sir Robert Clifford, how securely King Henry, our great master, doth commit his person to your loyalty. You taste his bounty and his mercy even in this, that at a time of night so late, a place so private as his closet, he is pleased to admit you to his favor. Do not falter in your discovery, but as you covet a liberal grace and pardon for your follies, so labor to deserve it by laying open all plots, all persons that contrive it against it.
Remember not the witchcraft or the magic, the charms and incantations which the sorceress of Burgundy have cast upon your reason. Sir Robert, be your own friend now. Discharge your conscience freely. All of such as love you stand sureties for your honesty and truth. Take heed you do not dally with the king. He is wise as he is gentle.
I am miserable if Henry be not merciful.
The king comes.
Clifford.
Let my weak knees root on the earth if I appear as leprous in my treacheries before your royal eyes. As to mine own, I seem a monster by my breach of truth.
Clifford, stand up. For instance of thy safety, I offer thee my hand.
A sovereign balm.
Is it okay if I leave like boxes that don't fit, they should go by the doors then? Okay. Okay.
Scan it in front of the door.
Okay.
Please. Paul,
Okay.
unmute.
All right, thank you.
Paul, you're on mute.
A sovereign balm for my bruised soul. I kiss it with a greediness. Sir, you're a just master, but I...
Tell me, is every circumstance thou hast set down with thine own hand within this paper true? Is it a sure intelligence of all the progress of our enemies' intents without corruption?
True, as I wish heaven or my infected honor white again.
We know all, Clifford, fully, since this meteor, this airy apparition first discradled from Tournai into Portugal and thence advanced his fiery blaze for adoration to the superstitious Irish. Since the beard of this wild comet conjured into France, sparkled in antic flames in Charles, his court, but shrunk again from thence and hid in darkness, stole into Flanders, flourishing the rag of painted power on the shore of Kent, whence he was beaten back with shame and scorn, contempt, and slaughter of some naked outlaws. But tell me, what new course now shapes Duke Perrin?
For Ireland, mighty Henry. So instructed by Stephen Fryan, sometimes secretary in the French tongue unto your sacred excellence, but Perkin's tutor now.
Subtle villain, that Fryan. You, my lord of Durham, knew well the man.
French both in heart and actions.
Some Irish heads work in this mine of treason. Speak 'em.
Not any of the best. Your fortune hath dulled their spleens. Never had counterfeit such a confused rabble of lost bankrupts for counsellors. First Heron, a broken mercer, then John of Water, sometime mayor of Cork, Skelton, a tailor, and a scrivener called Astley. And whate'er these list to treat of, Perkin must hearken to. But Fryan, cunning above these dull capacities, still prompts him to fly to Scotland to young James IV, and sue for aid to him. This is the latest of all their resolutions.
Still more Fryan. Pestilent adder, he will hiss out poison as dangerous as infectious. We must match him. Clifford, thou hast spoken. We give thee life. But Clifford, there are people of our own remain behind untold. Who are they, Clifford? Name those, and we are friends and will to rest is thy last task.
Oh, sir. Here I must break a most unlawful oath to keep a just one.
Well, well, be brief, be brief.
The first in rank shall be John Ratcliffe, Lord Fitzwater, then Sir Simon Mountford, and Sir Thomas Thwaites, with William Dawbeney, Chesner, Astwood, Worsley the Dean of Paul's, 2 other friars, and Robert Ratcliffe.
Churchmen are turned devils. These are the principal?
One more remains, unnamed, whom I could willingly forget.
Ah, Clifford, one more?
Great sir, do not hear him, for when Sir William Stanley, your Lord Chamberlain, shall come into the list, as he is chief, I shall lose credit with ye. Yet this lord last named is first against you.
Urswick! The light, view well my face, sirs. Is there blood left in it?
You alter strangely, sir.
Alter, Lord Bishop. Clifford stabbed me, or I dreamed he stabbed me. Sirrah, it is a custom with the guilty to think they set their own stains oft by laying aspersions on some nobler than themselves. Lies wait on treasons, as I find it here. Thy life again is forfeit. I recall my word of mercy, for I know thou darest repeat the name no more.
I dare. And once more, upon my knowledge, name Sir William Stanley, both in his council and his purse, the chief assistant to the fainted Duke of York.
Most strange.
Most wicked.
Yet again, once more.
Sir William Stanley is your secret enemy, and if time fit, will openly profess it.
Sir William Stanley. Who? Sir William Stanley, my Chamberlain, my counselor, the love, the pleasure of my court, my bosom friend, the charge and the controlment of my person, the keys and secrets of my treasury, the all of all I am. I am unhappy. Misery of confidence, let me turn traitor to mine own person. Yield my scepter up to Edward's sister and her bastard duke.
You lose your constant temper.
Sir William Stanley! Oh, do not blame me. 'Twas only he who, having rescued me in Bosworth Field from Richard's bloody sword, snatched from his head the kingly crown and placed it first on mine. He never failed me. What have I deserved to lose this good man's heart, or he his own?
The night doth waste. This passion ill becomes ye. Provide against your danger.
Let it be so. Urswick, command straight Stanley to his chamber. 'Tis well we are in the tower. Set a guard on him. Clifford, to bed. You must lodge here tonight. We'll talk with you tomorrow. My sad soul divines strange troubles.
Oh, the king! The king! I must have entrance!
Dawbeney's voice, admit him. What new combustions huddle next to keep our eyes from rest? The news?
10,000 Cornish, grudging to pay your subsidies, have gathered ahead, led by a blacksmith and a lawyer. They make for London, and to them is joined Lord Audley. As they march, their number daily increases. They are...
Rascals! Talk no more. Such are not worthy of my thoughts tonight. To bed. And if I cannot sleep, I'll wake. When counsels fail and there's in man no trust, even then an arm from heaven fights for the just.
Oh.
Oh, that's...
Come, ladies. Here's a solemn preparation for entertainment of this English prince. The king intends grace more than ordinary. For pity now if he should prove a counterfeit.
Bless the young man. Our nation would be laughed at for honest souls through Christendom. My father hath a weak stomach to the business, madam, but that the king must not be crossed.
He brings a goodly troop, they say, of gallants with him, but very modest people, for they strive not to fame their names too much. Their godfathers may be beholding to them, but their fathers scarce owe them thanks. They are disguised princes, brought up, it seems, to honest trades. No matter, they will break forth in season.
Or break out, for most of them are broken by report.
Let us observe him and be silent.
The right of kings, my lords, extends not only to the safe conservation of their own, but also to the aid of such allies as change of time and state have oftentimes hurled down from careful crowns to undergo an exercise of sufferance in both fortunes. So English Richard, surnamed Coeur de Lion, Sir Robert Bruce, our royal ancestor, forced by the trial of the wrongs they felt, both sought and found supplies from foreign kings to repossess their own. Then grudge not, lords, a much distressed prince. King Charles of France and Maximilian of Bohemia both have ratified his credit by their letters. Shall we then be distrustful? No. Compassion is one rich jewel that shines in our crown, and we will have it shine there.
Do your will, sir.
The young Duke is at hand. Delisle, from us first greet him and conduct him on. Then Crawford shall meet him next, and Huntley last of all. Present him to our arms. Sound sprightly music, whilst majesty encounters majesty.
Most high, most mighty king, that now there stands before your eyes, in presence of your peers, a subject of the rarest kind of pity that hath in any age touched noble hearts. The vulgar story of a prince's ruin hath made it too apparent. Europe knows, and all the Western world, what persecution hath raged in malice against us, sole heir to the great throne of old Plantagenets. How from our nursery we have been hurried unto the sanctuary, from the sanctuary forced to the prison, from the prison haled by cruel hands to the tormentor's fury, is registered already in the volume of all men's tongues, whose true relation draws compassion, melted into weeping eyes and bleeding souls. But our misfortunes since have ranged a larger progress through strange lands, protected in our innocence by heaven. Edward V, our brother, in his tragedy quenched their hot thirst of blood, whose hire to murder paid them their wages of despair and horror. The softness of my childhood smiled upon the roughness of their task, and robbed them farther of hearts to dare or hands to execute. Great King, they spared my life. The butchers spared it, returned the tyrant my unnatural uncle, a truth of my dispatch. I was conveyed with secrecy and speed to Tournay, fostered by obscure means, taught to unlearn myself. But as I grew in years, I grew in sense of fear and disdain, fear of the tyrant whose power swayed the throne then, when disdain of living so unknown in such a servile and abject lowness prompted me to thoughts of recollecting who I was. I shook off my bondage and made haste to let my aunt of Burgundy acknowledge me her kinsman, heir to the crown of England, snatched by Henry from Richard's head, a thing scarce known in the world.
My lord, it stands not with your counsel now to fly upon invectives. If you can make this apparent, what you have discoursed in every circumstance, we will not study an answer, but are ready in your cause.
You are wise and just, King, by the powers above reserved beyond all other aids to plant me in mine own inheritance, to marry these two kingdoms in a love never to be divorced while time is time. As for the manner first of my escape, of my conveyance next, of my life since, the means and persons who were instruments, great sir, 'tis fit I overpass in silence, reserving the relation to the secrecy of your own princely ear, since it concerns some great ones living yet, and others dead whose issue might be questioned. For your bounty, royal magnificence to him that seeks it, we vow hereafter to demean ourselves as if we were your own and natural brother, omitting no occasion in our person to express a gratitude beyond example.
He must be more than subject who can utter the language of a king, and such is thine. Take this for answer. Be whate'er thou art, thou never shalt repent that thou hast put thy cause and person into my protection. Cousin of York, thus once more we embrace thee. Welcome to James of Scotland. For thy safety, know, such as love thee not shall never wrong thee. Come, we will taste a while our court delights. Dream hence affliction pass, and then proceed to high attempts of honor. On, lead on, both thou and thine are ours, and we will guard ye. Lead on.
I have not seen a gentleman of a more brave aspect or goodlier carriage, whose fortunes move not him. Madam, you're passionate.
Beshrew me, but his words have touched me home, as if his cause concerned me. I should pity him, if he should prove another than he seems.
Ladies, the king commands your presence instantly for entertainment of the Duke.
The Duke must then be entertained, the king obeyed. It is our duty.
We will all wait on him.
Have ye condemned my Chamberlain?
His treasons condemned him, sir, which were as clear and manifest as foul and dangerous. Besides, the guilt of his conspiracy pressed him so nearly that it drew from him free confession without an importunity.
O Lord Bishop, this argued shame and sorrow for his folly, and must not stand in evidence against our mercy and the softness of our nature. The rigor and extremity of law is sometimes too bitter. but we carry a chancery of pity in our bosom. I hope we may,
All right.
You're welcome. From the sentence of death, I hope we may.
You may. And so persuade your subjects that the title of York is better, nay, more just and lawful than yours of Lancaster. So Stanley holds, which, if it be not treason in the highest, then we are traitors all, perjured and false, who have took oath to Henry and the justice of Henry's title, Oxford, Surrey, Dawbeney, with all your other peers of state and church forsworn, and Stanley true alone to heaven and England's lawful heir.
By Vere's old honours, I'll cut his throat, dares speak it.
'Tis a quarrel to engage a soul.
What a coil is here to keep my gratitude sincere and perfect. Stanley was once my friend and came in time to save my life, yet, to say truth, my lords, the man stayed long enough to endanger it. But I could see no more into his heart than what his outward actions did present. And Forum have rewarded him so fully, as that there wanted nothing in our gift to gratify his merit, as I thought, unless I should divide my crown with him and give him half, though now I well perceive 'twould scarce have served his turn without the whole. But I am charitable, lords. Let justice proceed in execution, whiles I mourn the loss of one whom I esteemed a friend.
Sir, he is coming this way.
If he speak to me, I could deny him nothing. To prevent it, I must withdraw. Pray, lords, commend my favors to his last piece, which I with him will pray for. That done, it doth concern us to consult of other following troubles.
I am glad he's gone. Upon my life, he would have pardoned the traitor had he seen him.
'Tis a king composed of gentleness.
Rare and unheard of, but every man is nearest to himself, and that the king observes, 'tis fit he should.
May I not speak with Clifford ere I shake this piece of frailty off?
You shall. He is sent for.
I must not see the king?
From him, Sir William, these lords and I am sent. He bade us say that he commends his mercy to your thoughts, wishing the laws of England could remit the forfeit of your life as willingly as he would, in the sweetness of his nature, forget your trespass. But, however your body fall into dust, he vows, the king himself doth vow, to keep a requiem for your soul, as for a friend close treasured in his bosom.
Without remembrance of your errors past, I come to take my leave and wish you heaven.
And I, good angels guard ye.
Oh, the king, next to my soul, shall be the nearest subject of my last prayers. My grave Lord of Durham, my lords of Oxford, Surrey, Dawbeney, all, except from a poor dying man, a farewell. I was, as you are once, great and stood hopeful of many flourishing years, but fate and time have wheeled about to turn me into nothing.
Sir Robert Clifford comes, the man, Sir William, you so desire to speak with.
Mark their meeting.
William Stanley, I am glad your conscience before your end hath emptied every burthen which charged it, as that you can clearly witness how far I have proceeded in a duty that both concerned my truth and the state's safety.
Mercy, how dear is life to such as hug it. Come hither, by this token, think on me.
This token? What? I am abused?
You are not. I wed upon your cheeks a holy sign, the cross, the Christian's badge, the traitor's infamy. Wear, Clifford, to thy grave this painted emblem. Water shall never wash it off. All eyes that gaze upon thy face shall read there written a state informer's character, more ugly, stamped on a noble name than on a base. The heavens forgive thee. Pray, my lords, no change of words. This man and I have used too many.
Shall I be disgraced without reply?
Give losers leave to talk. His loss is irrecoverable.
Once more, to all a long farewell. The best of greatness preserve the king. My next suit is, my lords, to be remembered to my noble brother, Darby, my much grieved brother. Oh, persuade him that I shall stand no blemish to his house in chronicles writ in another age. My heart doth bleed for him and for his size. Tell him he must not think that the style of Derby, nor being husbands to King Henry's mother, the league with peers, the smiles of fortune can secure his peace above the state of man. I take my leave to travel to my dust. Subjects deserve their death whose kings are just. Come, confessor, on with thy axe, friend, on.
Was I called hither by a traitor's breath to be upbraided? Lords, the king shall know about it.
The king doth know it, sir. The king hath heard what he or you could say. We have given credit to every point of Clifford's information. The only evidence against Stanley's head, he dies for it. Are you pleased?
I pleased, my lord?
No echoes. For your service, we dismiss your more attendance on the court. Take ease, live at home. As you love your life, stir not from London without leave from us. We'll think on your reward. Away.
I go, sir.
Die all our griefs with Stanley. Take his staff of office, Dawbeney. Henceforth, be our Chamberlain.
I am your humble servant.
We are followed by enemies at home. That will not cease to seek their own confusion. 'Tis most true the Cornish under Audley are marched on as far as Winchester, but let them come. Our forces are in readiness. We'll catch them in their own toils.
Your army being mustered consists in all of horse and foot, at least in number 26,000, men daring and able, resolute to fight and loyal in their truths.
We know it, Dawbeney. For them, we order thus. Oxford in chief, assisted by bold Essex, the Earl of Suffolk, shall lead on the 1st Battalia. Be that your charge.
I humbly thank your majesty.
The next division we assign to Dawbeney. These must be men of action, for on those the fortune of our fortunes must rely. The last and main, ourself commands in person, as ready to restore the fight at all times as to consummate and assured victory.
The king is still oraculous.
But Surrey, we have employment of more toil for thee. For our intelligence comes swiftly to us that James of Scotland late hath entertained Perkin, the counterfeit, with more than common grace and respect, nay, courts him with rare favors. The Scot is young and forward. We must look for a sudden storm to England from the north, which to withstand, Durham shall post to Norham to fortify the castle and secure the frontiers against an invasion there. Surrey shall follow soon with such an army as may relieve the bishop and encounter on all occasions the death-daring Scots. You know your charges all. 'Tis now a time to execute, not talk. Heaven is our guard still. War must breed peace. Such is the fate of kings.
'Tis more than strange. My reason cannot answer such argument of fine imposture, couched in witchcraft of persuasion, that it fashions impossibilities, as if appearance could cozen truth itself. This dupling mushroom hath doubtless charmed the king.
He courts the ladies, as if his strength of language chains attention by power of prerogative.
It madded my very soul to hear our master's motion. What surety of both amity and honor must necessity ensue upon a match betwixt some noble of our nation and this brave prince, forsooth?
Will prove too fatal. Wise Huntley fears the threatening. Bless the lady from such a ruin.
How the council privy of this young Fathian do screw their faces into a gravity that their trades good people were never guilty of. The meanest of them dreams of at least an office in the state.
Sure, not the hangman's. 'Tis bespoke already for service to their rogue ships. Silence!
Do not argue against our will. We have descended somewhat, as we may term it, too familiarly from justice of our birthright to examine the force of your allegiance. Sir, we have, but find it short of duty.
Break my heart. Do, King. Have my services, my loyalty, heaven knows, untainted ever, drawn upon me contempt now in mine age, when I but wanted a minute of peace, not to be troubled, my last, my long one. Let me be a dotard, a bedlam, a poor sot, or what you please to have me, so you will not stain your blood, your own blood, royal sir, though mixed with mine, by marriage of this girl to a straggler. Take my head, sir. Whilst my tongue can wag, it cannot name him other.
Kings are counterfeits in your repute, grave oracle, not presently set on their thrones with scepters in their fists. But use your own detraction. 'Tis our pleasure to give our cousin York for wife our kinswoman, the Lady Catherine. Instinct of sovereignty designs the honor, though her peevish father usurps a resolution.
No, 'tis well, exceeding well. I never was ambitious of using congees to my daughter queen. A queen! Perhaps a queen. Forgive me, Delisle, thou honourable gentleman. None here dare speak one word of comfort.
Cruel misery.
The lady, gracious prince, maybe hath settled affection on some former choice.
Enforcement would prove but tyranny.
I thank you heartily. Let any yeoman of our nation challenge an interest in the girl. Then the king may add a jointure of assent in titles worthy of free consent. But now he pulls down what old Desert hath builded.
Cease persuasions. I violate no pawns of faith, intrude not on private loves. That I have played the orator for kingly York to virtuous Kate, her grant can justify, referring her contents to our provision. The Welsh Harry henceforth shall therefore know, and tremble to acknowledge, that not the painted idol of his policy shall fright the lawful owner from a kingdom. We are resolved.
Some of thy subjects' hearts, King James, will bleed for this.
Then shall their bloods be nobly spent. No more disputes. He is not our friend who contradicts us.
Farewell, daughter. My care by one is lessened. Thank the king for it. I and my griefs will dance now. Look, lords, look. Here's hand in hand already.
Peace, old frenzy. How like a king he looks. Lords, but observe the confidence of his aspect. Dross cannot cleave to so pure a metal. Royal youth, Plantagenet undoubted.
Oh, brave youth, but no Plantagenet by our lady, yet by red rose or by white.
A union this way settles possession in a monarchy established rightly, as is my inheritance. Acknowledge me but sovereign of this kingdom, your heart, fair princess, and the hand of Providence shall crown you queen of me and my best fortunes.
Where my obedience is, my lord, a duty love owes true service.
Shall I?
Cousin, yes, enjoy her. From my hand, accept your bride. And may they live at enmity with comfort, who grieve at such an equal pledge of troths. You are the prince's wife now.
By your gift, sir.
Thus I take seizure of mine own.
I miss yet a father's blessing. Let me find it. Humbly, upon my knees, I seek it.
I am Huntley, old Alexander Gordon, a plain subject, no more nor less. And lady, if you wish for a blessing, you must bend your knees to heaven, for heaven did give me you. Alas, alas, what would you have me say? May all the happiness my prayers ever sued to fall upon you preserve you in your virtues. Prithee, Delisle, come with me, for I feel thy grief's as full as mine. Steal away and cry together.
My hopes are in their ruins.
Good kind Huntley is overjoyed. A fit solemnity shall perfect these delights. Crawford, attend our order for the preparation.
Now, worthy gentlemen, have I not followed my undertakings with success? Here's entrance into a certainty above a hope.
Hopes are but hopes. I was ever confident when I traded but in remnants that my stars had reserved me to the title of Viscount, or at least honor is honor, though cut out of any stuffs.
My brother Heron hath right wisely delivered his opinion, for he that threads the needle with the sharp eyes of industry shall in time go through stitch with the new suit of preferment.
Spoken to the purpose, my fine-witted brother Chilton, for as no indenture but has its counterpane, no noverent but his conditions of defeasance, so no right but may have claim, no claim but may have possession, any act of parliament to the contrary notwithstanding.
You are all read in mysteries of states, and quick of apprehension, deep in judgment, active in resolution. 'Tis pity such counsel should lie buried in obscurity. But why? In such a time and cause of triumph stands the judicious mayor of Cork, so silent. Believe it, sir, as English Richard prospers, you must not miss employment of a high nature.
If men may be credited in their mortality, which I dare not peremptorily aver, but they may or not be, presumptions by this marriage are then, in sooth, of fruitful expectation. Or else I must not justify other men's belief more than other men should rely on mine.
Fifth of experience, then those that have borne office weigh every word before it can drop from them. But noble counselors, since now the present requires in point of honor, pray mistake not. Some service to our Lord, 'tis fit the Scots should not engross all glory to themselves at this so grand and eminent solemnity.
The Scots? The motion is defied. I had rather, for my part, without trial of my country, suffer persecution under the pressing iron of reproach, or let my skin be punched full of eyelet holes with the bodkin of derision.
I will sooner lose both my ears on the pillory of forgery.
Let me first live a bankrupt and die in the lousy hole of hunger without compounding for sixpence in the pound.
If men fail not in their expectations, there may be spirits that digest no rude affronts, Master Secretary Fryan, or I am cozened, which is possible, I grant.
Resolve like men of knowledge. At this feast, then, in honor of the bride, the Scots, I know, will in some show, some mask, or some device prefer their duties. Now, it were uncomely that we be found less forward for our prince than they are for their lady. And by how much we outshine them in persons of account, by much more will our endeavors meet with a livelier applause. Great emperors have, for their recreations, undertook such kind of pastimes. As for their conceit, refer it all to my study. The performance you all shall share a thanks. To be grateful.
The motion is allowed. I have stole to a dancing school when I was apprentice.
There have been Irish hubbubs when I have made one too.
For fashioning of shapes and cutting a cross caper, turned me off to my trade again.
Surely there is, if I be not deceived, a kind of gravity in merriment, as there is, or perhaps ought to be, respect of persons in the quality of carriage, which is, as it is construed, either so or so.
Till you come home to me. Upon occasion I find you relish courtship with discretion, and such are fit for statesmen of your merits. Pray you, wait the prince, and in his ear, acquaint him with this design. I'll follow and direct ye. Oh, the toil of humoring this abject scum of mankind, muddy-brained peasants. Princes feel a misery beyond impartial sufferance, whose extremes must yield to such abettors. That our tide runs smoothly, without adverse winds. Run on, flow to a full sea. Time alone debates quarrels forewritten in the book of fates.
How runs the time of day? Urswick.
I come, your majesty, I come.
How runs the time of day?
Past 10, my lord.
A bloody hour will it prove to some whose disobedience, like the sons of the earth, throws a defiance against the face of heaven. Oxford, with Essex and stout de la Pole, have quieted the Londoners, I hope, and set them safe from fear.
They are all silent.
From their own battlements they may behold St. George's fields o'erspread with armed men, amongst whom our own royal standard threatens confusion to opposers. We must learn to practice war again in time of peace, or lay our crown before our subjects' feet. Urswick, must we not?
The powers who seated King Henry on his lawful throne will ever rise up in his defense.
Rage shall not fright the bosom of our confidence. In Kent, our Cornish rebels, cozened of their hopes, met brave resistance by that country's Earl. George Abergavenny, Cobham, Poynings, Guildford, and other loyal hearts. Now, if Blackheath must be reserved the fatal tomb to swallow such stiff-necked abjects as with weary marches have travelled from their homes, their wives and children to pay instead of subsidies, their lives, we may continue sovereign. Yet Urswick will not abate one penny what in Parliament hath freely been contributed. We must not. Money gives soul to action. Our competitor, the Flemish counterfeit with James of Scotland, will prove what courage need and want can nourish without the food of fit supplies. But, Urswick, I have a charm in secret that shall loose the witchcraft wherewith young King James is bound, and free it at my pleasure without bloodshed.
Your majesty's a wise king, sent from heaven, protector of the just.
Let dinner cheerfully be served in. This day of the week is ours, our day of providence. For Saturday, yet never failed in all my undertakings to yield me rest at night. What means this warning? But fate speak peace to Henry.
Live the king, triumphant in the ruin of his enemies.
The head of strong rebellion is cut off, the body hewed in pieces.
Dawbeney, Oxford, minions to noblest fortunes. How yet stands the comfort of your wishes?
Briefly thus, the Cornish, under Audley, disappointed of flattered expectation from the Kentish, your majesty's right trusty liegemen, flew feathered by rage and heartened by presumption to take the field even at your palace gates and face you in your chamber royal. Arrogance improved their ignorance, for they, supposing misled by rumor that the day of battle should fall on Monday, rather braved your forces than doubted any onset. Yet this morning, when in the dawning I, by your direction, strove to get Deptford Strand Bridge, there I found such a resistance as might show what strength could make here. Here arrows hailed in showers upon us, a full yard long at least, but we prevailed. My Lord of Oxford, with his fellow peers, environing the hill, fell fiercely upon them, on the one side, I on the other, till, great sir, pardon the oversight, eager of doing some memorable act, I was engaged almost a prisoner, but was freed as soon as sensible of danger. Now the fight began in heat, while quenched in the blood of 2,000 rebels, and as many more reserved to try your mercy, have returned a victory with safety.
Have we lost an equal number with them?
In the total, scarcely 400. Audley, Flammock, Joseph, the ringleaders of this commotion, railed in ropes, fit ornaments for traitors, wait your determinations.
We must pay our thanks where they are only due. O lords, here is no victory, nor shall our people conceive that we can triumph in their falls. Alas, poor souls, such as are escaped, steal to the country back without pursuit. There's not a drop of blood spilt, but hath drawn as much of mine. Their swords could have wrought wonders on their king's part, who faintly were unsheathed against their prince, but wounded their own breasts. Lord, we are debtors to your care. Our payment shall be both sure and fitting your deserts.
Sir, will you please to see those rebels, heads of this wild monster multitude?
Dear friend, my faithful Dawbeney, no. On them our justice must frown in terror. I will not vouchsafe an eye of pity to them. Let false Audley be drawn upon a hurdle from the Newgate to Tower Hill in his own coat of arms, painted on paper with the arms reversed, defaced, and torn. There let him lose his head. The lawyer and the blacksmith shall be hanged, quartered, their quarters into Cornwall sent, examples to the rest, whom we are pleased to pardon and dismiss from further quest. My Lord of Oxford, see it done.
I shall, sir.
Urswick.
My lord.
To Dinham, our high treasurer, say we command commissions be new granted for the collection of our subsidies through all the West, and that right speedily. Lords, we acknowledge our engagements due for your most constant services.
Your soldiers have manfully and faithfully acquitted their several duties.
For it, we will throw a largesse free amongst them, which shall hearten and cherish up their loyalties. More yet remains of like employment. Not a man can be dismissed till enemies abroad, more dangerous than these at home, have felt the puissance of our arms. O happy kings, whose thrones are raised in their subjects' hearts.
Now, sir, a modest word with you, sad gentlemen. Is not this fine? I trow, to see the gambols, to hear the jigs, observe the frisks, be enchanted with the rare discord of bells, pipes, and tabors, hotchpotch of Scotch and Irish twingle-twangles, like to so many choristers of Bedlam to roll in a catch. The feasts, the manless stomachs, the healths in Uskaba and Bonnyclabber, the ale in dishes never fetched from China, the 100,000 knacks not to be spoken of, and all this for King Oberon and Queen Mab should put a soul into. Look ye, good man, how youthful I am grown. But by your leave, this new queen bride must henceforth be no more my daughter. No, by'r lady, 'tis unfit. And yet you see how I do bear this change, methinks courageously. Then shake off care in such a time of jollity.
Alas, sir, how can you cast a mist upon your griefs, which howsoever you shadow, but present to any judging eye, the perfect substance of which mine are but counterfeits.
Oh, Delisle, thou interruptst the part I bear in music to this rare bridal feast. Let us be merry, whilst flattering calms secure us against storms. Tempests, when they begin to roar, put out the light of peace and cloud the sun's bright eye in darkness of despair. Yet we are safe.
I wish you could as easily forget the justice of your sorrows as my hopes can yield to destiny.
Pish! Then I see thou dost not know the flexible condition of my apt nature. I can laugh heartily when the gout cramps my joints. Let but the stone stop in my bladder. I am straight a-singing. The quartan fever, shrinking every limb, sets me a-capering straight. Do but betray me, and bind me a friend forever. What? I trust the losing of a daughter, though I doted on every hair that grew to trim her head, admits not any pain like one of these. Come, thou art deceived in me. Give me a blow, a sound blow on the face. I'll thank thee for it. I love my wrongs. Still, thou'rt deceived in me.
Deceived? Oh, noble Huntley, my few years have learnt experience of too ripe an age to forfeit fit credulity. Forgive my rudeness, I am bold.
Oh, forgive me first a madness of ambition. By example, teach me humility. For patience scorned lectures which schoolmen used to read to boys incapable of injuries. Though old, I could grow tough in fury and disclaim allegiance to my king, could fall at odds with all my fellow peers that durst not stand defendants against the rape done on mine honour. But kings are earthly gods. There is no meddling with their anointed bodies. For their actions, they are only accountable to heaven. Yet in the puzzle of my troubled brain, one antidote's reserved against the poison of my distractions. 'Tis in thee to apply it.
Name it! Oh, name it quickly, sir.
A pardon for my most foolish slighting thy deserts. I have called out this time to beg it. Prithee, be gentle. Had I been so, thou hadst owned a happy bride. But now a castaway, and never child of mine more.
Say not so, sir. It is not fault in her.
The world would prate how she was handsome. Young, I knew she was. Tender and sweet in her obedience. But lost now. What a bankrupt am I made of a full stock of blessings. Must I hope a mercy from thy heart?
A love, a service, a friendship to posterity.
Oh, good angels, reward thy charity. I have no more but prayers left me now.
I lend you mirth, sir, if you will be in consort.
Thank you, truly I must. Yes, yes, I must. Here is yet some ease, a partner in affliction. Look not angry.
Good noble sir.
No, hark! We may be quiet. The king and all the others come. A meeting of gaudy sights. This day's the last of revels. Tomorrow, sounds of war. Then new exchange. Fiddles must turn to swords. Unhappy marriage.
Cousin of York, you and your princely bride have liberally enjoyed such soft delights as a new married couple could forethink. Nor has our bounty shortened expectation. But after all those pleasures of repose, of amorous safety, we must rouse the ease of dalliance with achievements of more glory than sloth and sleep can furnish. Yet for farewell, gladly we entertain a truce with time to grace the joint endeavors of our servants.
My royal cousin, in your princely favor, the extent of bounty hath been so unlimited, as only an acknowledgement in words would breed suspicion in our state and quality. When we shall, in the fullness of fate, whose minister necessity will perfect, sit on our own throne, then our arms laid open to gratitude, in sacred memory of these large benefits, shall twine them close, even to our thoughts and hearts, without distinction. Then James and Richard, being in effect one person, shall unite and rule one people, divisible in titles only.
Seat ye. Are the presenters ready?
All are entering.
Dainty sport, Delisle. Come, sit. Sit and be quiet. Here are kingly Bug's words.
Enter at one door 4 Scotch antics, accordingly habited, at another Warbeck's followers, disguised as 4 wild Irish in trousers, long-haired, and accordingly habited. Music, perhaps some merriment, a dance by the masters.
To all, a general thanks.
In the next room, take your own shapes again. You shall receive particular acknowledgement.
Enough of merriments. Crawford, how far is our army upon the march?
Haydenhall, great king. 12,000 well prepared.
Crawford, tonight post thither. We in person, with the prince. By 4 o'clock tomorrow after dinner, will be we. Speed away.
I fly, my lord.
Our business grows ahead now. Where's your secretary, that he attends ye not to serve?
So with Marchmont, your herald.
Good. The proclamation's ready. By that it will appear how the English stand affected to your title. Huntley, comfort your daughter in her husband's absence. Fight with prayers at home for us, who for your honors must toil and fight abroad.
Prayers are the weapons which men so near their graves as I do use. I've little else to do.
To rest, young beauties, we must to early stirring quickly part. A kingdom's rescue craves both speed and art. Cousins, good night.
Rest to our cousin king.
Your blessing, sir.
Fair blessings on your highness. Sure you need 'em.
Jane, set the lights down, and from us return to those in the next room this little purse. Say we'll deserve their loves.
It shall be done, sir.
Now, dearest, ere sweet sleep shall seal those eyes, love's precious tapers, give me leave to use a parting ceremony, for tomorrow it would be sacrilege to intrude upon the temple of thy peace. Swift as the morning must I break from the down of thy embraces to put on steel and trace the paths which lead through various hazards to a careful throne.
My lord, I'd fain go with you. There's a small fortune in staying here behind.
The churlish brow of war, dear fairest, is a sight of horror for ladies' entertainment. If thou heardst the truth of my sad ending by the hand of some unnatural subject, thou withal shalt hear how I died worthy of my right, by falling like a king. And in the close which my last breath shall sound, thy name, thou fairest, shall sing a requiem to my soul, unwilling only of greater glory, cause divided from such a heaven on earth as life with thee. But these are chimes for funerals. My business attends on fortune of a sprightlier triumph. For love and majesty are reconciled, and vow to crown thee Empress of the West.
You have a noble language, sir. Your right in me is without question, and however events of time may shorten my deserts, in others pity, yet it shall not stagger or constancy or duty in a wife. You must be kin of me, and my poor heart is all I can call mine.
But we will live beauteous virtue by the lively test of our own blood, to let the counterfeit be known the world's contempt.
Pray do not use that word, it carries fate in it. The first suit I ever made, I trust your love will grant.
Without denial, dearest.
That hereafter, if you return with safety, no adventure may sever us in tasting any fortune. I ne'er can stay behind again.
You're lady of your desires and shall command your will, yet 'tis too hard to promise.
What our destinies have ruled out in their books we must not search, but kneel to.
Then to fear when hope is fruitless, or to be desperately miserable, poverty of greatness dares not dream of, and much more scorns to stoop to. But some few minutes remain yet. Let's be thrifty in our hopes.
Your name is Pedro Ielas, a Spaniard?
Sir, a Castilian born.
King Ferdinand, with wise Queen Isabel, his royal consort, write ye a man of worthy trust and candor. Princes are dear to heaven who meet with subjects sincere in their employments. Such I find your commendation, sir. Let me deliver how joyful I repute the amity with your most fortunate master, who almost comes near a miracle in his success against the Moors, who had devoured his country entire now to his scepter. We, for our part, will imitate his providence in hope of partage in the use on't. We repute the privacy of his advisement to us by you, intended an ambassador to Scotland for a peace between our kingdoms, the policy of love, which well becomes his wisdom and our care.
Your Majesty doth understand him rightly.
Else your knowledge can instruct me, wherein, sir, to fall on ceremony would seem useless. which shall not need. For I will be as studious of your concealment in our conference as any council shall advise.
Venter, my chief request is that on notice given at my dispatch in Scotland, you will send some learned man of power and experience to join in treaty with me.
I shall do it, being that way well provided by a servant which may attend ye ever.
If King James by any indirection should perceive my coming near your court, I doubt the issue of my employment.
Be not your own herald, I learn sometimes without a teacher.
Good days guard all your princely thoughts.
Urswick, no further than the next open gallery attend him. A hearty love go with you.
Your vowed beadsman.
King Ferdinand is not so much a fox, but that a cunning huntsman may in time fall on his scent, on the scent. In honorable actions, safe imitation best deserves a praise. But the Castilians passed away?
He is, and undiscovered. The 200 marks your majesty conveyed, he gently pursed with a right modest gravity.
What was it he muttered in the earnest of his wisdom? He spoke not to be heard. 'Twas about...
Warbeck. How if King Henry were but sure of subjects, such a wild runagate might soon be caged, no great ado withstanding.
Nay, something about my son Prince Arthur's match?
Right, sir. He hummed it out, how that King Ferdinand swore that the marriage twixt the Lady Catherine, his daughter, and the Prince of Wales, your son, should never be consummated as long as any Earl of Warwick lived in England, except by new creation.
I remember, 'twas so indeed. The king his master swore it?
Directly, as he said.
An Earl of Warwick. Provide a messenger for letters instantly to Bishop Fox. Our news from Scotland creeps. It comes so slow we must have airy spirits. Our time requires dispatch. The Earl of Warwick? Let him be son to Clarence, younger brother to Edward. Edward's daughter is, I think, mother to our Prince Arthur. Get a messenger.
We trifle time against these castle walls. The English prelate will not yield. Once more, give him a summons.
See, the jolly clerk appears trimmed like a ruffian.
Bishop, get set ope the ports, and to your lawful sovereign, Richard of York, surrender up this castle, and he will take thee to his grace. Else Tweed shall overflow his banks with English blood, and wash the sand that cements those hard stones from their foundation.
Warlike King of Scotland, vouchsafe a few words from a man enforced to lay his book aside and clap on arms unsuitable to my age or my profession. Courageous prince, consider on what grounds you rend the face of peace and break a league with a confederate king that courts your amity. For whom, too? For a vagabond, a straggler, not noted in the world by birth or name, an obscure peasant, by the rage of hell loosed from his chains to set great kings at strife. What nobleman, what common man of note, what ordinary subject hath come in since first you footed on our territories only to feign a welcome? Children laugh at your proclamations, and the wiser pity so great a potentate's abuse by one who juggles merely with the fawns in youth with an instructed compliment. Such spoils, such slaughters as the rapine of your soldiers already have committed is enough to show your zeal in a conceited justice. Yet, great king, wake not my master's vengeance, but shake that viper off which gnaws your entrails. I and my fellow subjects are resolved, if you persist, to stand your utmost fury till our last blood drop from us.
Oh, sir, lend no ear to this traducer of my honor. What shall I call thee, thou grey-bearded scandal that kickst against the sovereignty to which thou owest allegiance? Treason is bold-faced and eloquent in mischief, Sacred king, be deaf to this known malice.
Rather yield unto those holy motions which inspire the sacred heart of an anointed body. It is the surest policy in princes to govern well their own than seek encroachment upon another's right.
King is serious.
Deep in his meditations.
Lift them up to heaven, his better genius.
Oh, can you study while such a devil raves? Oh, sir.
Well, Bishop, you'll not be drawn to mercy.
Construe me in like case by a subject of your own. My resolution's fixed. King James, be counseled. A greater fate waits on thee.
Forage through the country. Spare no prey of life or goods.
Oh, sir, then give me leave to yield to nature. I'm most miserable. Had I been born what this clergyman would by defame battle belief with, I had never sought the truth of mine inheritance with rapes of women or of infants murdered, virgins deflowered, old men butchered, dwellings fired, my land depopulated, and my people afflicted with a kingdom's devastation. Show more remorse, great king, or I shall never endure to see such havoc with dry eyes. Spare my dear, dear England.
You fool. Your piety ridiculously careful of an interest another man possesseth. Where's your affection? Shrewdly the bishop guessed of your adherence, when not a petty burgess of some town, no, not a villager hath yet appeared in your assistance. That should make ye whine, not your country's sufferance, as you term it.
King is angry.
And the passionate duke effeminately dolent.
The experience in former trials, sir, both of mine own and other princes cast out of their thrones, have so acquainted me how misery is destitute of friends or of relief, that I can easily submit to taste lowest reproof without contempt or words.
An humble-minded man. Now what intelligence speaks Master Secretary Fryan?
Henry of England hath in an open field o'erthrown the armies who opposed him in the rights of this young prince.
His subsidies, you mean? More, if you have it?
Howard Earl of Surrey, backed by 12 earls and barons of the north, 100 knights and gentlemen of name, and 20,000 soldiers, is at hand to raise your siege. Brooke with a goodly navy is admiral at sea, and Dawbeney follows with an unbroken army for the second.
It is false. They come to side with us.
Retreat. You shall not find them stones and walls to cope with. Yet, Duke of York, for such thou sayest thou art, I'll try thy fortune to the height. To Surrey, by Marchmont, I will send a brave defiance for single combat. Once a king will venture his person to an earl, with condition of spilling lesser blood. Surrey is bold, and James resolve it.
Oh, rather, gracious sir, create me to this glory, since my cause doth interest this fair quarrel. Valued least, I am his equal.
I will be the man. March softly off, where victory can reap a harvest crowned with triumph. Toil is cheap.
End of Act 3. And we will take a 10-minute break here, and we will start again at 2:45.
Thank you, 10. Thank you, 2:45.
Thank you, 10 and 2:45.
Okay, can we track that telephone call that we can hear, or is that something that lives on Zoom permanently whenever we're doing a reading?
Well, it sounds more like a radio signal that somebody's equipment is picking up.
Yeah, it's some sort of feedback signal. And it's Perkin's system. If you notice, it's only on when he's on.
That's what I thought too.
I'm afraid that happens with Wi-Fi.
Me?
Yeah, there's some sort of muttering.
I can hear it too.
Yeah, and it only comes up when you're up.
Really? That's really weird. I've never had that problem before. Okay, let me see.
Yeah.
Are you using Wi-Fi or an Ethernet cable?
Wi-Fi.
Okay, while our Warbeck is checking out his problem, how many people here do think that Perkins Warbeck was Richard of York? Just out of curiosity. I see one hand.
Two
hands.
I'd be interested to hear the evidence that you think you have, Stephen.
I'm sorry, what did you say, Jonathan?
I said I'd be interested to hear what evidence you have that makes you think that Perkin Warbeck was one of the princes.
I think it would be too long and too involving, because it very much, it has to do with the family that brought him up in Tournai and his relationship with Margaret of Burgundy and with Maximilian of Burgundy.
Okay.
And the fact that, Maximilian of Burgundy, Margaret of Burgundy, and the King of France all actually, remember, they knew them. They knew the family, and they all, and that's just the beginning before you actually start going into sort of other things, like the fact that everybody admits that he looked like him. That he looked like Edward IV, and Edward IV was a particularly specifically looking, very handsome man, and Perkin Warbeck looked like him. The big problem against him, of course, is the fact that he didn't start out as the Duke of York, but he started out pretending to be the Earl of Warwick.
Right.
And switched.
Even though Lambert Simnel was alive and well and working in the kitchens at Hampton Court Palace, so to speak.
And why do you think only one of the princes would have been killed and the other one would have been released? I think maybe both of them were not killed and the other one just faded away.
I think she actually makes a very good case of how it was possible that they I think it's Elizabeth Woodville. And Elizabeth Woodville was a smart enough woman to be able to understand that whereas she might be able to save one of her children, she couldn't save two. And remember, she was also a prisoner in the Tower, so to speak, at the same time. She was there and moved into the Tower, because Elizabeth of York was about to become, Queen of England. And so Elizabeth Woodville was there, but not really allowed to see her daughters, but she was allowed to see her sons. And I think that at some point she decided that she couldn't really get rid of the quote unquote real king, Edward V, but she might be able to switch out the younger son, who was, how old was he, Kathy? About 8? Something like that.
He would have been 8 or 9 if they switched him out.
Whereas an 11 or 12-year-old is beginning to look like he is, and would be hard to find someone who looked like him, but an 8 or 9-year-old you probably could. The other issue, of course, in all of this, which we simply don't have time to discuss, is how did the princes in the Tower die? Who killed them?
If they did.
If they did, yeah. Well, no, it doesn't matter. How did 2 children die? These 2 boys die. And were the 2 skeletons found under the staircase, 100 years later, were they, were they Plantagenets?
I think that one's been pretty well disproven scientifically, unfortunately.
Yeah.
I used to love the theory that Buckingham killed them.
Skeletons found in the Tower. Where were the other skeletons? Where were they buried? But again, it basically comes back to the fact Henry was frightened of Perkin Warbeck. Hang on a minute, I just got to. Henry was frightened of Perkin Warbeck, whereas he wasn't frightened of Lambert Simnel. But we know that the Earl of Warwick was actually alive at the time that Simnel tried to be him. But Henry was afraid of Perkin Warbeck, which is why he had him executed, whereas Lambert Simnel, he didn't.
Right, but Warbeck had all kinds of international support at various times, on and off.
Yeah.
Do people Stephen, I think you have to bump Sean.
I know, I'm trying to do it, but I can't talk and...
right, you go at the same time.
Kathy, what were you going to say before when Stephen interrupted?
Well, there was a theory at one point, I think one of the biographers of Richard said that Buckingham, before Richard died, Buckingham may have killed the boys to keep them from being a focus of rebellion.
Right.
Oh, don't you think that? No, I think Buckingham was getting rid of a rival because Buckingham, I think, was planning on taking the throne himself. He's also a titled descendant of Edward III. He had as much right. In fact, he had more right to the throne than did, Henry Tudor.
He did try it on, for sure he did. I think the theory goes, and I don't know that it's very well supported, that the first thing he did was get rid of the boys. And then he figured he might as well have
You're talking about
Buckingham, yeah.
So I just tested my audio, and it's not coming from me. It might be somebody who's in all the same scenes as I am, but because I can hear it, and I just tested my audio, so it's going to be somebody else who's in the same scenes as me.
Is it me? I'm outside.
No, it wasn't. That particular thing.
Because I could hear myself echoed when I was talking, and that wouldn't happen if the echo was coming from me.
Yeah, I didn't hear any echoes.
I could hear echoes when I was talking, and when
it sounded like an echo of you.
Yeah.
Sean.
Yes, it did.
Yeah. So.
And yeah, we heard a little bit of you people in the background, Catherine, but that was minor and trivial.
Yeah.
Stephen, did you mention the British series about this historical situation?
Are you talking about Henry VII? The Shadow of the Tower.
It's called the Shadow of the Tower, as I have it.
Yeah, the Shadow of the Tower. I mean, it's very old. It was made after Elizabeth R. and the Six Wives. With considerably less money. So it comes over as cheap. But,
You sure? I thought it came before the Six Wives of Henry VIII.
I'm sorry, what?
I thought it came before the Six Wives of Henry VIII.
No, it was. It was done after.
Shot afterwards. Oh.
They were done after. There is another one which is worth seeing, and we're 2 minutes away, ladies and gentlemen. But there is another one which, if you can find it, it's on the DVD set of The Shadow of the Tower, and it is called The Innocent. And it's actually about the Earl, Clarence's son, the Earl of Warwick, who's played by Robert Powell, who went on to play Jesus of Nazareth for Franco Zeffirelli.
Mm-hmm.
What is really interesting is that the Perkin Warbeck looked like Perkin the pictures of Perkin Warbeck, was a young up-and-coming actor called Colin Redgrave.
Oh.
It was a 50-minute play of the week or something, and it was out on the BBC about 1968. It is available on DVD. I don't know if it's on YouTube.
I may have it on DVD because I bought The Shadow of the Tower.
You do have it on DVD. It's worth seeing.
Yeah.
Okay, so we have about an hour left in the play.
One question: is it Frian or Frian?
Brian.
Frian, cool.
It's arguable whether you think he was French or whether you think he was English.
Oh, it could be a French name.
It doesn't really say.
Are we ready to go?
Well, if we're ready, it's not quite 2:45 yet, but if everybody wants to switch off, and then we will start with Act 4 with the Earl of Surrey.
Are all our braving enemies shrunk back, hid in the fogs of their distempered climate, not daring to behold our colours wave in spite of this infected air? Can they look on the strength of Kunderstein defaced, the glory of Heaton Hall devastated, that of Eddington cast down, the pile of Fulden o'erthrown, and this the strongest of their forts, old Hayden Castle, yielded and demolished, and yet not peep abroad? The Scots are bold, hardy in battle, but it seems the cause they undertake, considered, appears unjointed in the frame-on't.
Noble Surrey, our royal master's wisdom is at all times his fortune's harbinger. For when he draws his sword to threaten war, his providence settles on peace, the crowning of an empire.
Rank all in order, 'tis a herald sound, some message from King James. Keep a fixed station.
From Scotland's awful majesty, we come unto the English general.
To me, say on.
Yeah. Thus then, the waste and prodigal effusion of so much guiltless blood, as in too potent armies of necessity must glut the earth's dry womb, his sweet compassion hath studied to prevent. For which to thee, great Earl of Surrey, In a single fight, he offers his own royal person, fairly proposing these conditions only, that if victory conclude our master's right, the Earl shall deliver for his ransom the town of Berwick to him with the Fishgarths. If Surrey shall prevail, the king will pay £1,000 down present for his freedom and silence further arms. So speaks King James.
So speaks King James. So like a king he speaks. Heralds, the English general returns a sensible devotion from his heart, his very soul, to this unfellowed grace. For let the king know, gentle heralds, truly, how his descent from his great throne to honor a stranger subject with so high a title as his compare in arms hath conquered more than any sword could do. For which, my loyalty respected, I will serve his virtues ever in all humility. But Berwick, say, is none of mine to part with. In affairs of princes, subjects cannot traffic rights inherent to the crown. My life is mine, that I dare freely hazard, and with pardon to some unbraved vainglory, if his majesty shall taste a change of fate, his liberty shall meet no articles. If I fall, falling so bravely, I refer me to his pleasure without condition. And for this dear favor, say, if not countermanded, I will cease hostility unless provoked.
This answer we shall relate unpartially.
With favor, pray, have a little patience. Sir, you find by these gay flourishes how wearied travail inclines a willing rest. Here's but a prologue, however confidently uttered, meant for some ensuing acts of peace. Consider the time of year, unseasonableness of weather, charge, barrenness of profit, and occasion presents itself for honorable treaty, which we may make good use of. I will back as sent from you in point of noble gratitude unto King James with these his heralds. You shall shortly hear from me, my lord, for order of breathing or proceeding, and King Henry, doubt not, will thank the service.
To your wisdom, Lord Bishop, I refer it.
Be it so, then.
Heralds, accept this chain and these few crowns.
Our duty, noble general.
In part of retribution for such princely love, my lord the general is pleased to show the king your master his sincerest zeal by further treaty by no common man. I will myself return with you.
You oblige my faithless affections to you, Lord Bishop.
All happiness attend your lordship.
Come, friends and fellow soldiers, we, I doubt, shall meet no enemies but woods and hills to fight with. When then 'twere as good to feed and sleep at home. We may be free from danger, not secure.
Frian, oh, Frian, all my hopes of glory are at a stand. The Scottish king grows dull, frosty, and wayward since this Spanish agent hath mixed discourses with him. They are private. I'm not called to counsel now. Confusion on all his crafty shrugs. I feel the fabric of my designs are tottering.
Henry's policies stir with too many engines.
Oh, let his minds, shaped in the bowels of the earth, blow up works raised for my defense. Yet can they never toss into air the freedom of my birth, or disavow my blood Plantagenets. I am my father's son still. But oh, Frian, when I am bring into account with my disasters, my wife's compartnership, my Kate's, my life's, then my frailty feels an earthquake. Mischief, damn Henry's plots. I will be England's king, or let my aunt of Burgundy report my fall in the attempt deserved our ancestors.
You grow too wild in passion. If you will appear a prince indeed, confine your will to moderation.
Oh, what a saucy rudeness prompts this distrust. If I will appear a prince, death throttle such deceits even in their birth of utterance. Cursed cozenage of trust, you make me mad. 'Twere best, it seems, that I should turn impostor to myself, be mine own counterfeit, belie the truth of my dear mother's womb. the sacred bed of a prince murdered and a living baffled.
Nay, if you have no ears to hear, I have no breath to spend in vain.
Oh, sir, take heed. Gold and all the promise of promotion rarely fail in temptation.
Why you to me this?
Oh, nothing. Speak what you will. We are not sunk so low, but your advice may peace again the heart which many cares have broken. You were wont in all extremities to talk of comfort. Have ye none left now? I'll not interrupt thee. Good. Bear with my distractions. If King James deny us dwelling here, next whither must I? Oh, I prithee, be not angry.
Sir, I told ye of letters come from Ireland, how the Cornish stomach their last defeat, and humbly sue with such forces as you could partake. You would in person land in Cornwall, where thousands will entertain your title gladly.
Let me embrace thee, hug thee. Thou'st revived my comforts. If my cousin king will fail, our cause will never. Welcome, my tired friends. You keep your brains awake in our defense. Frian, advise with them of these affairs, in which be wondrous secret. I will listen what else concerns us here. Be quick and wary.
Ah, sweet young prince. Secretary, my fellow councillors and I have consulted, and jump all in one opinion directly. If these Scotch garboils do not fadge to our minds, we will pell-mell run amongst them, the Cornish chuffs, presently and in a trice.
'Tis but going to sea and leaping ashore, cut 10 or 12,000 unnecessary throats, fire 7 or 8 towns, take half a dozen cities, get into the marketplace, crown and Richard the Fourth, and the business is finished.
I grant ye, quoth I, so far forth as men may do, no more than men may do, for it is good to consider, when consideration may be to the purpose, otherwise, still you shall pardon me, little said is soon amended.
Then you conclude the Cornish action surest?
We do so, and doubt not but to thrive abundantly. Oh, my masters, had we known of the commotion when we set sail out of Ireland, the land had been ours ere this time.
Pish, pish. 'Tis but forbearing being an earl or a duke a month or two longer. I say, and say it again, if the work go not on apace, let me never see my new fashion more. I warrant ye, we will have it so, and so it shall be.
This is but a cold, phlegmatic country, not stirring enough for men of spirit. Give me the heart of England for my money.
A man may batten there in a week only with hot loaves and butter and a lusty cup of muscadine and sugar at breakfast, though we make never a meal all the month after.
Surely, when I bore office, I found by experience that to be much troublesome was to be much wise and busy. I have observed how filching and bragging has been the best service in these last wars, and therefore conclude peremptorily on the design in England. If things and things may fall out, as who can tell what or how, but the end will show it.
Resolved like men of judgment. Here to linger more time is but to lose it. Cheer the prince and haste him onto this. On this depends fame in success or glory in our ends.
France, Spain, and Germany combine a league of amity with England. Nothing wants for settling peace through Christendom but love between the British monarchs, James and Henry.
The English merchants, sir, have been received with general procession into Antwerp. The emperor confirms the combination.
The King of Spain resolves a marriage for Catherine, his daughter, with Prince Arthur.
France courts this early contract.
What can hinder a quietness in England?
But your suffrage to such a silly creature, mighty sir, is as but in effect an apparition, a shadow, a mere trifle.
To this union, the good of both the Church and Commonwealth invite ye.
To this unity, a mystery of providence points out a greater blessing for both these nations than our human reason can search into. King Henry hath a daughter, the Princess Margaret. I need not urge what honor, what felicity can follow on such affinity twixt two Christian kings, enleagued by ties of blood. But sure I am, if you, sir, ratify the peace proposed, I dare motion and effect this marriage for weal of both the kingdoms.
Darest thou, Lord Bishop?
Put it to trial, Royal James, by sending some noble personage to the English court by way of embassy.
Part of the business shall suit my mediation.
Well, what heaven hath pointed out to be, must be. You two are ministers, I hope, of blessed fate. But herein only I will stand acquitted. No blood of innocence shall buy my peace. For Warbeck, as you nick him, came to me, commended by the states of Christendom, a prince, though in distress. His fair demeanor, lovely behavior, unappalled spirit, spoke him not base in blood, however clouded. The brute beasts have both rocks and caves to fly to, and man the altars of the church. To us he came for refuge. Kings come near in nature unto the gods, and being touched with pity, get noble friends, his mixture with our blood, even with our own, shall no way interrupt the general peace. Only I will dismiss him from my protection throughout my dominions in safety, but not ever to return.
You are a just king.
Wise and herein happy.
Nor will we dally in affairs of weight. Huntley, Lord Bishop, shall with you to England, ambassador from us. We will throw down our weapons. Peace on all sides. Now repair unto our council. We will soon be with you.
Delay shall question no dispatch. Heaven crowned.
A league with Ferdinand. A marriage with English Margaret. A free release from restitution for the late affronts. Cessation from hostility. And all for Warbeck. Not delivered, but dismissed. We could not wish it better. Delisle.
Here, sir.
Are Huntley and his daughter sent for?
Sent for and come, my lord.
Say to the English prince, we want his company.
He is at hand, sir.
Cousin, our bounty, favors, gentleness, our benefits, the hazard of our person, our people's lives, our land, hath evidenced how much we have engaged on your behalf. How trivial and how dangerous our hopes appear, how fruitless our attempts in war, how windy, rather smoky, your assurance of party shows, we might in vain repeat. But now obedience to the mother's church, father's care upon his country's weal, the dignity of state, direct our wisdom to seal an oath of peace throughout Christendom, to which we're sworn already. It is you must only seek new fortunes in the world and find and harbor elsewhere. As I promised on your arrival, you have met no usage deserves repentance in your being here. But yet, I must live master of mine own. However, what is necessary for you at your departure, I am well content you be accommodated with, provided delay prove not my enemy.
It shall not, most glorious prince. The fame of my design soars higher than report of ease and sloth can aim at. I acknowledge all your favors, boundless and singular. I'm only wretched in words as well as means to thank the grace that flowed so liberally. 2 empires firmly your lord of, Scotland and Duke Richard's heart. My claim to mine inheritance shall sooner fail than my life to serve you, best of kings. And witness Edward's blood in me. I am more loath to part with such a great example of virtue than all other mere respects. But, sir, my last suit is, you will not force from me what you have given. This chaste lady, resolved on all extremes.
I am your wife. No human power can or shall divorce my faith from duty.
Such another treasure the earth is bankrupt of.
I gave her, cousin, and must avow the gift. Will add withal a furniture becoming her high birth and unsuspected constancy. Provide for your attendance. We will part good friends.
The Tudor hath been cunning in his plots. His fox of Durham would not fail at last, but what? Our cause and courage are our own. Be men, my friends, and let our cousin king see how we follow fate as willingly as malice follows us. Ye are all resolved for the west parts of England.
Cornwall! Cornwall! The inhabitants expect you daily.
Cheerfully draw all our ships out of the harbor, friends. Our time of stay doth seem too long. We must prevent intelligence about it suddenly.
A prince!
A prince! A prince! A prince! Dearest, admit not into thy pure thoughts the least of scruples which may charge their softness with burden of distrust. Should I prove wanting to noblest courage now, here were the trial. But I am perfect, sweet. I fear no change, more than thy being partner in my sufferance.
My fortunes, sir, have armed me to encounter what chance soe'er they meet with. Jane, 'tis fit to stay behind. For whither wilt thou wander?
Never till death will I forsake my mistress, nor then in wishing to die with ye gladly.
Alas, good soul.
Sir, to your aunt of Burgundy I will relate your present undertakings. From her expect on all occasions welcome. You cannot find me idle in your services.
Go, Frian, go. Wise men know how to soothe adversity, not serve it. Thou hast waited too long on expectation. Never yet was any nation red of so besotted in reason as to adore the setting sun. Fly to the Archduke's court. Say to the Duchess, her nephew with fair Catherine his wife are on their expectation to begin the raising of an empire. If they fail, yet the report will never. Farewell, Frian. This man Kate has been true, though now of late I fear too much familiar with the fox.
I come to take my leave. You need not doubt my interest in this sometime child of mine. It is all yours now, good sir. Oh, poor lost creature. Heaven guard thee with much patience. If thou canst forget thy title to old Huntley's family, as much of peace will settle in thy mind as thou canst wish to taste but in thy grave. Accept my tears yet, prithee. They are tokens of charity as true as of affection.
This is the cruelest farewell.
Love, young gentleman, this model of my griefs. He calls you husband. And be not jealous of a parting kiss. It is a father's, not a lover's offering. Take it. My last. I am too much a child. Exchange of passion is to little use, so I should grow too foolish. Goodness guide thee.
Most miserable daughter. Have you aught to add, sir, to our sorrows?
I resolve, fair lady, with your leave, to wait on all your fortunes in my person. If your lord vouchsafe me entertainment.
We will be bosom friends, most noble Delisle, for I accept this tender of your love beyond ability of thanks to speak it. Clear thy drowned eyes, my fairest. Time and industry will show us better days, or end the worst.
No news from Scotland yet, my lord?
Not any but what King Henry knows himself. I thought our armies should have marched that way. His mind, it seems, is altered.
Oh, victory attends his standard everywhere.
Wise princes, Oxford, fight not alone with forces. Providence directs and tutors strength, else elephants and barbed horses might as well prevail as the most subtle stratagems of war.
The Scottish king showed more than common bravery in proffer of a combat hand to hand with Surrey.
And but showed it. Northern bloods are gallant being fired, but the cold climate without good store of fuel quickly freezeth the glowing flames.
Surrey, upon my life, would not have shrunk an hair's breadth.
May he forfeit the honour of an English name and nature, who would not have embraced it with a greediness as violent as hunger runs to food. 'Twas an addition any worthy spirit would covet, next to immortality, above all joys of life. We all missed shares in that great opportunity.
Oh, the king. See, he comes smiling.
Oh, the game runs smooth on his side then, believe it. Cards well shuffled and dealt with cunning bring some gamester thrift, but others must rise losers.
The train takes?
Most prosperously.
I knew it should not miss. He fondly angles who will hurl his bait into the water, because the fish at first plays round about the line and dares not bite. Lords, we may reign your king yet. Dawbeney, Oxford, Urswick. Must Perkin wear the crown?
A slave.
A vagabond.
A glowworm.
Now, if Frian, this practiced politician, were a brain of proof, King Perkin will in progress ride through all his large dominions. Let us meet him and tender homage. Ah, sirs, liegemen ought to pay their fealty.
Would the rascal were with all his rabble within 20 miles of London.
Farther off is near enough to lodge him in his home. I'll wager odds Surrey and all his men are either idle or hasting back. They have not work, I doubt, to keep them busy.
'Tis a strange conceit, sir.
Such voluntary favors as our people in duty aid us with, we never scattered on cobweb parasites or lavished out in riot or a needless hospitality. No undeserving favor doth boast his issues from our treasury. Our charge flows through all Europe, proving us but steward of every contribution, which provides against the creeping canker of disturbance. Is it not rare then, in this toil of state wherein we are embarked with breach of sleep, cares, and the noise of trouble, that our mercy returns nor thanks nor comfort? Still the West murmur and threaten innovation, whisper our government tyrannical, deny us what is ours, nay, spurn their lives, of which they are but owners by our gift. It must not be.
It must not, should not.
So then, to whom?
This packet, to your sacred majesty.
Sirrah, attend without.
News from the north, upon my life.
Wise Henry divines the forehand of events. With him, attempts and executions are one act.
Urswick, thine ear. Frian is caught. The man of cunning is outreached. We must be safe. Should Reverend Morton, our Archbishop, move to a translation higher yet, I'll tell ye, my Durham owns a brain deserves that sea. That sea. He's nimble in his industry and mounting. Thou hearest me?
And conceive your highness fitly.
Dawbeney and Oxford, since our army stands entire, it were a weakness to admit the rust of laziness to eat amongst them. Set forward toward Salisbury. The plains are most commodious for their exercise. Ourselves will take a muster of them there, and or disband them with a reward, or else dispose as best concerns us.
Salisbury? Sir, all is peace in Salisbury.
Dear friend, the charge must be our own. We would a little partake the pleasure with our subjects' ease. Shall I entreat your loves?
Command our lives.
Your men know how to do, not to forethink. My bishop is a jewel tried and perfect, a jewel, lords. The post who brought these letters must speed another to the mayor of Exeter. Urswick, dismiss him not.
He awaits your pleasure.
Perkin a king, a king.
My gracious lord.
Thoughts busied in the sphere of royalty fix not on creeping worms without their stings, mere excrements of earth. The use of time is thriving safety and a wise prevention of ills expected. We're resolved for Salisbury.
After so many storms as wind and seas have threatened to our weather-beaten ships, at last, sweet fairest, we are safe arrived on our dear Mother Earth. Ingrateful only to heaven and us in yielding sustenance to sly usurpers of our throne and right. These general acclamations are an omen of happy process to their welcome lord. They flock in troops, and from all parts with wings of duty fly to lay their hearts before us. Unequaled pattern of a matchless wife, how fares my dearest yet?
Confirmed in health, by which I may the better undergo the roughest face of change. But I shall learn patience to hope, since silence courts affliction, for comforts to truly this noble gentleman, rare unexampled pattern of a friend, and my beloved Jane, the willing follower of all misfortunes.
Lady, I return but barren crops of early protestations, frost-bitten in the spring of fruitless hopes.
I wait but as the shadow to the body, for madam, without you, let me be nothing.
Oh, none talk of sadness. We're on our way which leads to victory. Keep cowards' thoughts with desperate sullenness. The lion faints not locked in a grate, but loose disdains all force which bars his prey. And we are lion-hearted, or else no king of beasts. Ooh, hark how they shout triumphant in our cause. Bold confidence marches on bravely, cannot quake at danger.
Save King Richard IV! Save thee, King of Hearts! The Cornish blades are men of metal, proclaimed through Bodmin and the whole county. My sweet Prince Monarch of England, 4,000 tall yeomen, with bow and sword, already vow to live and die at the foot of King Richard.
The mayor, our fellow councillor, is servant for an emperor. Exeter is appointed for the rendezvous, and nothing wants to victory but courage and resolution. Sigillatum et datum decimo Septembris anno regni regis primo, etc. Confirmatum est. All's cocksure.
To Exeter march on. Commend us to our people. We, in person, will lend them double spirits. Tell them so.
King Richard! King Richard!
1,000 blessings guard our lawful arms. 1,000 horrors peace our enemies' souls. Pale fear unedge their weapons' sharpest points, and when they draw their arrows to the head, numbness shall strike their sinews. Such advantage hath majesty in its pursuit of justice, that on the propers up of truth's old throne it both enlightens counsel and gives heart to execution, whilst the throats of traitors lie bare before our mercy. O divinity of royal birth, how it strikes dumb! Death is bribed by trains and greatness. Princes are but men, distinguished in the fineness of their frailty, yet not so gross in beauty of the mind. For there's a fire more sacred purifies the dross of mixture. Herein stand the odds. Subjects are men on earth, kings, men, and gods.
It is decreed, and we must yield to fate, whose angry justice, though it threaten ruin, contempt, and poverty, it is all but trial of a weak woman's constancy in suffering. Here, in a stranger's and an enemy's land, forsaken and unfurnished of all hopes, but such as wait on misery, I range to meet affliction wheresoe'er I tread. My train and pomp of servants is reduced to one kind gentlewoman and this groom. Sweet Jane, now whither must we?
To your ships, dear lady, and turn home.
Home? I have none. Fly thou to Scotland. Thou hast friends will weep for joy to bid thee welcome. But, oh, Jane, my friends are desperate of comfort, and I must be of them. The common charity, good people's alms, and prayers of the gentle is the revenue must support my state. As for my native country, since it once saw me a princess in the height of greatness, my birth allowed me. Here I make a vow Scotland shall never see me being fallen or lessened in my fortunes. Never, Jane, never to Scotland more will I return. Could I be England's queen? A glory, Jane, I never fawned on. Yet the king who gave me hath sent me with my husband from his presence, delivered us suspected to his nation, rendered us spectacles to time and pity. And is it fit I should return to such as only listen after our descent from happiness and joy to misery expected, though uncertain? Never, never. Alas, why dost thou weep? And that poor creature wipe his wet cheeks too? Let me feel alone extremities, who know to give them harbour. Nor thou nor he has cause. You may live safely.
There is no safety whiles your dangers, madam, are every way apparent.
Pardon, lady. I cannot choose but show my honest heart. You are ever my good lady.
Oh, dear souls, your shares in grief are too much.
I bring, fair princess, news of further sadness yet, and your sweet youth hath been acquainted with.
Not more, my lord, than I can welcome. Speak it. The worst I look for.
All the Cornish at Exeter were by the citizens repulsed, encountered by the Earl of Devonshire and other worthy gentlemen of the country. Your husband marched to Taunton, and was there affronted by King Henry's Chamberlain, the king himself in person with his army advancing nearer to renew the fight on all occasions. But the night before the battles were to join, your husband privately, accompanied with some few horse, departed from out the camp, and posted none knows whither.
Fled without battle given?
Fled, but followed by Dawbeney. All his parties left to taste King Henry's mercy. To that they yielded, victorious, without bloodshed.
Oh, my sorrows. If both our lives had proved a sacrifice to Henry's tyranny, we had fallen like princes and robbed him of the glory of his pride.
Imputed not to faintness or to weakness of noble courage, lady, but to foresight. For by some secret friend he had intelligence of being bought and sold by his base followers. Worse yet, remains untold.
No, it cannot.
I fear you are betrayed. The Earl of Oxford comes hot in your pursuit.
He shall not need. We'll run as hot in resolution gladly to make the Earl our jailer.
Madam, they come.
Keep back, or he who dares rudely to violate the law of honor runs on my sword.
Most noble sir, forbear. What reason draws you hither, gentlemen? Whom seek ye?
All stand off. With favour, lady, from Henry, England's king, I would present unto the beauteous Princess Catherine Gordon the tender of a gracious entertainment.
We are that princess, whom your master king pursues with reaching arms to draw into his power. Let him use his tyranny. We shall not be his subject.
My commission extends no further, excellentest lady, than to a service. 'Tis King Henry's pleasure that you and all that have relation to ye be guarded as becomes your birth and greatness. For rest assured, sweet princess, that not aught of what you do call yours shall find disturbance, or any welcome other than what suits your high condition.
By what title, sir, may I acknowledge you?
Your servant, lady, descended from the line of Oxford's earls, inherits what his ancestors before him were owners of.
Your king is therein heron royal, that by a peer so ancient in desert as well as blood commands us to his presence.
Oh, invites ye, princess, not commands.
Pray, use your own phrase as you list. To your protection both I and mine submit.
Now there's in your number a nobleman whom faith hath bravely spoken. To him the king, my master, bade me say how willingly he courts his friendship, far from an enforcement, more than what in terms of courtesy so great a prince may hope for.
My name is Delisle.
'Tis a name hath won both thanks and wonder from report, my lord. The court of England emulates your merit and covets to embrace you.
I must wait on the princess and her fortune.
Will you please, great lady, to set forward?
Being driven by fate, it were in vain to strive with heaven.
The counterfeit, King Perkin, is escaped. Escaped. So let him. He is hedged too fast within the circuit of our English pale to steal out of our ports or leap the walls which guard our land. The seas are rough and wider than his weak arms can tug with. Surrey, henceforth your king may reign in quiet. Turmoils past, like some unquiet dream, have rather busied our fancy than affrighted rest of state. But Surrey, why in articling a peace with James of Scotland was not restitution of losses with our subjects? Did sustained by the Scotch inroads? Questioned.
Both demanded and urged, my lord, to which the king replied in modest merriment, but smiling earnest, how that our Master Henry was much abler to bear the detriments than he repay them.
The young man, I believe, spake honest truth. He studies to be wise sometimes. Has Urswick, Sir Rice ap Thomas, and Lord Brooke, our steward, returned the Western gentlemen full thanks from us for their tried loyalties?
They have, which, as if health and life had reigned amongst them, with open hearts they joyfully received.
Young Buckingham is a fair-natured prince, lovely in hopes and worthy of his father. Attended by 100 knights and squires of special name, he tendered humble service, which we must never forget. And Devonshire's wounds, though slight, shall find sound cure in our respect.
Life to the king, and safety fix his throne. I here present you, royal sir, a shadow of majesty, but in effect a substance of pity. A young man in nothing grown to ripeness, but the ambition of your mercy. Perkin, the Christian world's strange wonder.
Dawbeney, we observe no wonder. I behold, 'tis true, an ornament of nature, fine and polished. A handsome youth indeed, but not admire him. How came he to thy hands?
From sanctuary at Bewley near Southampton, registered with these few followers for persons privileged.
I must not thank you, sir. You were to blame to infringe the liberty of houses sacred. Dare we be irreligious?
Gracious lord, they voluntarily resigned themselves without compulsion.
So, 'twas very well. 'Twas very, very well. Turn now thine eyes, young man, upon thyself and thy past actions. What revels in combustion through our kingdom, a frenzy of aspiring youth hath danced, till wanting breath, thy feet of pride have slipped to break thy neck.
But not my heart. My heart will mount till every drop of blood be frozen by death's perpetual winter. If the sun of majesty be darkened, let the sun of life be hid from me in an eclipse lasting and universal. Sir, remember, there was a shooting in of light when Richmond, not aiming at a crown, retired, and gladly, for comfort to the Duke of Breton's court. Richard, who swayed the scepter, was reputed a tyrant then. Yet then a dawning glimmered to some few wandering remnants, promising day, when first they ventured on a frightful shore at Milford Haven.
Whither speeds his boldness? Check his rude tongue, great sir.
Oh, let him range. The player's on the stage still, 'tis his part. He does but act. What followed?
Bosworth Field, where at an instant, to the world's amazement, a morn to Richmond and a night to Richard appeared at once. The tale is soon applied. Fate, which crowned these attempts when least assured, might have befriended others like resolved.
Pretty gallant. Thus your aunt of Burgundy, your Duchess aunt, informed her nephew. So the lesson prompted and well conned was molded into familiar dialogue, oft rehearsed, till learnt by heart, 'tis now received for truth.
Truth in her pure simplicity wants art to put a feigned blush on. Scorn wears only such fashion as commends the gazer's eyes, sad, ulcerated novelty, far beneath the sphere of majesty. In such a court, wisdom and gravity are proper robes by which the sovereign is best distinguished from zanies to his greatness.
Sirrah, shift your antic pageantry, and now appear in your own nature, or you'll taste the danger of fooling out of season.
I expect no less from what severity calls justice and politicians' safety. Let such beg as feed on alms. But if there can be mercy in a protested enemy, then may it descend to these poor creatures, whose engagements to the bettering of their fortunes have incurred a loss of all. To them, if any charity flow from some noble orator, death I owe the fee of thankfulness.
So brave. Bold knave is this. Which of these rebels has been the mayor of Cork?
This wise formality. Kneel to the king, you rascals.
Canst thou hope a pardon where thy guilt is so apparent?
Under your good favors, as men are men, they may err, for I confess respectively, in taking great parts, the one side prevailing, the other side must go down. Herein the point is clear. If the proverb hold that hanging goes by destiny, that is to little purpose to say this thing or that shall be thus or thus, for as the fates will have it, so it must be, and who can help it?
Oh, blockhead! Thou, a privy councillor, beg life and cry aloud, heaven save King Henry!
Every man knows what is best. As it happens, for my own part, I believe it is true, if I be not deceived, that kings must be kings and subjects subjects. But which is which, you shall pardon me for that. Whether we speak or hold our peace, all are mortal. No man knows his end.
We trifle time with follies.
Mercy.
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 Urswick, command the Dukeling and these fellows to Digby, the lieutenant of the tower. With safety, let them be conveyed to London. It is our pleasure no civil outrage, uncivil outrage, taunts or abuse be suffered to their persons. They shall meet fairer law than they deserve. Time may restore their wits, whom vain ambition hath many years distracted.
Oh, noble thoughts meet freedom in captivity. The tower, our childhood's dreadful nursery.
No more!
Come, come. You shall have leisure to bethink ye.
Was ever so much impudence in forgery? The custom, sure, of being styled a king hath fastened in his thought that he is such, but we shall teach the lad another language. 'Tis good we have him fast.
The hangman's physic will purge this saucy humour.
Very likely. Yet we could temper mercy with extremity, being not too far provoked.
Great sir, be pleased with your accustomed grace to entertain the Princess Catherine Gordon.
Oxford, herein we must beshrew thy knowledge of our nature. A lady of her birth and virtues could not have found us so unfurnished of good manners as not on notice given to have met her halfway in point of love. Excuse, fair cousin, the oversight. Oh, fie, you may not kneel. It's most unfitting. Vouchsafe this welcome. A welcome to your own, for you shall find us but guardian to your fortune and your honors.
My fortunes and mine honors are weak champions, as both are now befriended, sir. However, both bow before your clemency.
Our arms shall circle them from malice. Sweet lady, beauty incomparable. Here lives majesty at league with love.
Oh, sir, I have a husband.
Will prove your father, husband, friend, and servant. Provide what you wish to give. Lords, be careful. A patent presently be drawn for issuing £1,000 from our exchequer yearly during our cousin's life. Our queen shall be your chief companion, our own court your home, our subjects all your servants.
But my husband?
By all descriptions, you are noble Delisle, whose generous truth hath famed a rare observance. We thank ye. 'Tis a goodness gives addition to every title boasted from your ancestry, and all most worthy.
Worthier than your praises, right princely sir. I need not glory in.
Embrace him, lords. Whoever calls you mistress is lifted in our charge. A goodlier beauty mine eyes yet ne'er encountered.
Cruel misery of fate. What rest to hope for?
Forward, lords, to London. Fair ere long I shall present ye with a glad object, peace and Huntley's blessing.
Make room there. Keep off, I require ye. And none come within 12 foot of his majesty's new stocks upon pain of displeasure. Bring forward the malefactors. Friend, you must to this gear, no remedy. Open the hole and in with his legs, just in the middle hole. There, that hole. Keep off, or I'll commit you all. Shall not a man in authority be obeyed? So, there. 'Tis as it should be. Put on the padlock and give me the key. Off, I say, keep off!
Yet, Warbeck, clear thy conscience. Thou hast tasted King Henry's mercy liberally. The law has forfeited thy life. An equal jury have doomed thee to the gallows. Twice, most wickedly, most desperately hast thou escaped the tower, inveigling to thy party with thy witchcraft young Edward, Earl of Warwick, son to Clarence, whose head must pay the price of that attempt. Poor gentleman, unhappy in his fate, and ruined by thy cunning. So a mongrel may pluck the true stag down. Yet confess thy parentage, for yet the king has mercy.
You would be Dick the Fourth? Very likely. Your pedigree is published. You are known for Osbeck's son of Tournay, a loose runagate, a landloper. Your father was a Jew turned Christian merely to repair his miseries. Where's now your kingship?
Baited to my death. Intolerable cruelty. I laugh at the Duke of Richmond's practice on my fortunes, possession of a crown ne'er wanted heralds.
You will not know me who I am?
Lambert Simnel, your predecessor in a dangerous uproar, but on submission, not alone received to grace, but by the king vouchsafed his service.
I would be Earl of Warwick, toiled and ruffled against my master, leaped to catch the moon, vaunted my name Plantagenet, as you do, an earl forsooth, when as in truth I was, as you are, a mere rascal. Yet his majesty, prince composed of sweetness, heaven protect him, forgave me all my villainies, reprieved the sentence of a shameful end, admitted my surety of obedience to his service. And I'm now his falconer. Live plenteously, eat from the king's purse, and enjoy the sweetness of liberty and favor. Sleep securely. And is not this now better than to buffet the hangman's clutches, or to brave the cordage of a tough halter which will break your neck? So then the gallant totters. Prithee, Perkin, let my example lead thee. Be no longer a counterfeit. Confess and hope for pardon.
For pardon. Oh, hold my heartstrings, whilst contempt of injuries in scorn may bid defiance to this base man's foul language. Thou poor vermin, how darest thou creep so near to me? Thou, an earl, where thou enjoyest as much of happiness as all the swing of slight ambition flew at. A dunghill was thy cradle, so a puddle, by virtue of the sunbeams, breathes a vapor to infect the purer air, which drops again into the muddy womb that first exhaled it. Bread and a slavish ease, with some assurance from the base beetle's whip, crowned all thy hopes. But, sirrah, ran there in thy veins one drop of such a royal blood as flows in mine, thou wouldst not change condition to be second in England's state without the crown itself. Coarse creatures are incapable of excellence, but let the world is all to whom I am this day a spectacle to time deliver. And by tradition fix posterity without another chronicle than truth, how constantly my resolution suffered a martyrdom of majesty.
He's past recovery. A bedlam cannot cure him.
Away! Inform the king of his behavior.
Perkin, beware the rope. The hangman's coming.
If yet thou hast no pity of thy body, pity thy soul.
Dear lady.
Whither will ye without respect of shame?
Forbear me, sir, and trouble not the current of my duty. O my loved lord, can any scorn be yours in which I have no interest? Some kind hand lend me assistance, that I may partake the infliction of this penance. My life's dearest, forgive me. I have stayed too long from tendering attendance on reproach, yet bid thee welcome.
Great miracle of constancy. My miseries were never bankrupt of their confidence in worst afflictions, till this. Now I feel them. Report in thy deserts, thou best of creatures, might to eternity have stood a pattern for every virtuous wife without this conquest. Thou hast outdone belief. Yet may their ruin in after marriages be never pitied, to whom thy story shall appear a fable. Why wouldst thou prove so much unkind to greatness, to glorify thy vows by such a servitude? I cannot weep. But trust me, dear, my heart is liberal of passion. Harry or Richmond, a woman's faith hath robbed thy fame of triumph.
Sarah, leave off your juggling and tie up the devil that ranges in your tongue.
Thus witches, possessed, even to their deaths deluded, say they have been wolves and dogs, and sailed in eggshells over the sea, and rid on fiery dragons, passed in the air more than 1,000 miles, all in a night. The enemy of mankind is powerful, but false, and falsehood, and the enemy of mankind is powerful, but false, and falsehood confident.
Remember, lady, who you are. Come from that impudent impostor.
You abuse us, for when the holy churchmen joined our hands, our vows were real then. The ceremony was not in apparition, but in act. Be what these people term thee, I am certain thou art my husband. No divorce in heaven has been sued out between us. 'Tis injustice for any earthly power to divide us, or we will live or let us die together. There is a cruel mercy.
O spite of tyranny, we reign in our affections, blessed woman. Read in my destiny the wreck of honor. Point out in my contempt of death to memory some miserable happiness. Since herein, even when I fell, I stood enthroned a monarch of one chaste wife's troth, pure and uncorrupted. Fair angel of perfection, immortality shall raise thy name up to an adoration, court every rich opinion of true merit, and saint it in the calendar of virtue, when I am turned into the selfsame dust of which I was first formed.
The Lord Ambassador, Huntley, your father, madam, should he look on your strange subjection in a gaze so public, would blush in your behalf, and wish his country unleft for entertainment to such sorrow.
Why art thou angry, Oxford? I must be more peremptory in my duty. Sir, impute it not unto immodesty that I presume to press you to a legacy before we part forever.
Let it be then, my heart, the rich remains of all my fortunes.
Confirm it with a kiss, pray.
Oh, with that I wish to breathe my last. Upon thy lips, those equal twins of comeliness, I sealed the testament of honorable vows. Whoever be that man that shall unkiss this sacred print next, may he prove more thrifty in this world's just applause, not more desertful.
By this sweet pledge of both our souls, I swear to die a faithful widow to thy bed, not to be forced or won. Oh, never, never.
Free the condemned person, quickly, free him. What has he yet confessed?
Nothing to purpose, but still he will be king.
Prepare your journey to a new kingdom. Then, unhappy madmen, willfully foolish. See, my lord ambassador, your lady daughter will not leave the counterfeit in this disgrace of fate.
I never pointed thy marriage, girl. But yet, being married, enjoy thy duty to a husband freely. Thy griefs are mine. I glory in thy constancy, and must not say I wished that I had missed some partage in these trials of a patience.
You will forgive me, noble sir?
Yes, yes. In every duty of a wife and daughter, I dare not disavow thee. To your husband, or such you are, sir, I impart a farewell of manly pity. What your life has passed through, the dangers of your end will make apparent. And I can add for comfort to your sufferance no cordial, but the wonders of your frailty which keep so firm a station. We are parted.
We are. A crown of peace renew thy age, most honourable Huntley. Worthy Crawford, we may embrace. I never thought thee injury.
Nor was I ever guilty of neglect which might procure such thought. I take my leave, sir.
To you, Lord Delisle? What? Except a sigh. 'Tis hearty and in earnest.
Want utterance, my silence is my farewell.
Oh.
Sweet madam, what do you mean? My lord, your hand.
Dear lady, be pleased that I may wait ye to your lodging.
Look ye, behold your followers, appointed to wait on ye in death.
Why, peers of England will lead them on courageously. I read a triumph over tyranny upon their several foreheads. Faint not in the moment of victory. Our ends and Warwick's head, innocent Warwick's head, for we are prologue but to his tragedy. Conclude the wonder of Henry's fears, and then the glorious race of 14 kings Plantagenets determines in this last issue male. Heaven be obeyed. Impoverished time of its amazements, friends, and we will prove as trusty in our payments as prodigal to nature in our debts. Death? 'Tis but a sound, a name of air. A minute's storm, or not so much, to tumble from bed to bed, be massacred alive by some physicians for a month or two, in hope of freedom from a fever's torments, might stagger manhood. Here the pain is past ere sensibly 'tis felt. Be men of spirit, spurn coward passion. So illustrious mention shall blaze our names and style us kings or death.
Away! Impostor beyond precedent. No chronicle records his fellow.
I have not thoughts left. 'Tis sufficient in such cases. Just laws ought to proceed.
We are resolved. Your business, noble lord, shall find success, such as your king importunes.
You are gracious.
Perkin, we are informed, is armed to die, and that will honor him. Our lord shall follow to see the execution, and from hence we gather this fit use, that public states, as our particular bodies, taste most good in health when purged of corrupted blood.
Here has appeared, though in a several fashion, the threats of majesty, the strength of passion, hopes of an empire, change of fortunes, all what can to theatres of greatness fall, proving their weak foundations. Who will please, amongst such several sights, to censure these, no births abortive, nor a bastard brood, shame to a parentage or fosterhood, may warrant by their loves all just excuses, and often find a welcome to the muses.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much. That was very, very good. I hope you all enjoyed it.
Yeah.
Yes.
Very much.
Yeah, that was a lot of fun.
Yeah. I actually also get the sense that I think that Ford also believed, by the end of the play certainly, that Perkin was Richard of Shrewsbury.
I have to say, I do find with Scottish superiority that all these English people groveling about who's going to be king when we had a constant lineage that worked perfectly well does again show the same kind of inconstancy and stupidity that governed Brexit.
Blame the Normans. It's clearly all their fault.
No.
Absolutely.
Arians.
Yeah.
I may be a little biased, but I still think he was an imposter.
And a lovely King James IV. I did enjoy that.
Actually, I thought that the King James IV looked a little too much like Mrs. Kennedy. It was Alston touch that finally did it.
Loved the little round hat thing.
Yes. Well, I'm curious. What did you think of the play? What you plural?
That's great.
It's kind of long and boring.
I thought it was actually quite short compared with some of the long, boring Shakespeare plays.
Well, that's true.
Also, Ford lacked a little in Shakespeare's expression of language, I thought.
Well, he didn't know it, and he didn't know it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he couldn't prove it either.
Shakespeare had a way